Let's get started.
Now let's get it all in perspective. We did it like that, and now we do it like this.
Do not attempt to adjust your dial. I'm transmitting live. Yo,
Let's get down to business.
Now let's get it all in perspective. We did it like that, and now we do it like this.
All right.
for the underground world, every street and borough.
You may learn something.
You are now listening to the Joe Rogan Experience with Chico, Simon, Kamar, and your host, Matt Floyd.
Welcome back to another episode of the Joe Rogan Experience. My name is Matt Floyd, joined as always by Kamar.
What's up, sluts?
And Simon.
How's it going, everybody?
Chico couldn't be here.
I just noticed that.
See, that was the nice way to do it, Kamar.
It's 2 weeks in a row, no Chico. It's almost like he's not part of the show anymore.
Is this something we did?
No, it's hot in here. He hadn't eaten today. I can't concentrate too, and he's running around like a dickhead, so,
Peace of mind.
I mean, he
Yeah.
doesn't have great things to say about you, Kamar.
I disagree, Kamar.
I don't know. He's open-minded for a Chihuahua.
What we do here is very simple. The three of us have listened to every episode of the Joe Rogan Experience this week. We're going to rate each episode as well as the week on a scale of 1 to 5 Jamie Vernons. And then we're going to dive deeper into the episodes, the guests, the talking points, this, that, and the next. Kamar, how was your week?
This is the week, buddy. I got the big call. I'll be, unless something happens, I'll be going to Kingston this weekend
For comedy.
for comedy.
Hey,
Back on stage.
knocking the rust off, huh?
Well, I don't know. I'm lucky, as they say in the show, the headliner is a killer, so it really doesn't matter.
Who's the headliner?
Everyone's going to leave. Joey Elias. Everyone's going to be leaving, thinking they had a good show, whether or not I do a good job.
He's the crowd work guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen him.
But what's weird is there's a big plexiglass in front of the stage. Like you are enclosed.
That's so stupid.
You know, like a drum kit where they have that plate.
Yeah, that's so dumb.
I think they have to have that so the comics don't
As if the
spit.
comedian spitting out on the crowd is like,
It happens.
sure. Okay.
Especially if someone's ranting or going off.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's very exciting.
So do you get tested before they let you in there?
This isn't the UFC.
I don't believe we're getting tested. You just have to wear, obviously, face mask anywhere
while
but
you
on
perform?
stage,
Okay, I was
while you
going to
wait
say. Really would kill the performance.
with no facial expressions. Yeah, I mean, I think that my performance is going to suck. I don't know what it's going to be like. It's sort of weird. But like I said, hosting is sort of like an easy lifting. So
You're hosting.
I'm hosting. Yeah.
Oh, congrats, Kamar. I'm glad you're back to work in that.
We'll see because it's 50% capacity. Not 50. No, it's 50 people, not 50%
Not 50%
capacity.
capacity. Yeah,
So if
maximum
the place
50.
had 150 capacity, you could have 75. It's 50, which I've never liked performing in front of a small crowd in a big room, but we'll see. And I'm happy to work with Joey. And I also just want to say, all the listeners, send your emails. I don't know if you guys realize that without Matt Floyd, we would have no podcast. He does everything. Reason we're here. The what are these called? The cans, the board, everything.
Cans. Whatever.
Please send your appreciations to Matt Floyd.
No, you know
Great
what's
job,
funny?
and I appreciate you too, man.
Thanks, Kamar. You know what I was going to say this week is I was going to tell listeners, I was going to be like, we're not even going to give the email out anymore. Don't bother emailing. Just, there's too many things. Just fucking, I was going to use the email for business purposes from now on. There's the Reddit, the Patreon, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. If you want to email us, do it. Though. What do I- Thank you, Kamar,
Did
either
I
way.
miss something?
What?
Did I miss something that happened on the email?
No, he knows I'm having a rough week in the health department, maybe. He's just trying to bring me up.
No, just in general. I
okay.
really appreciate everything you
Okay,
do
well,
for
thank
this.
you. Thank you.
I think every week I think of saying it, and then I get caught up talking about my week and
No, I appreciate it, Kamar.
want to get it in. I would not remember this by the time we get the post show. No, thank you, Matt.
Well, I enjoy doing it. It's fun meeting up with you guys once a week and shooting the shit. My favorite thing is when someone gets online and calls us pieces of garbage.
Well, somebody who loves Anthony Bourdain more than Joe Rogan, that was just weird.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
No.
What are you talking about?
The most scathing review ever. I'll read it in the
Oh, yeah, I can't wait.
in the post show.
Yes. The most scathing review ever.
Personal. It's personal.
That's fine. I love those. Fuck, that makes me happy. Simon, how was your week?
I mean, I'm fine. Thanks, Matty.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
Well, the last podcast of the week must have made your week a bit more special.
It was. I mean, I told you Christmas came early.
I watched that one. because I wanted to give it its full dues for Simon. And like halfway through, I was watching it, and I was like, I pictured Simon in his studio, which I've only seen through Zoom, so I've only really seen like the ceiling and a wall.
It's nothing special.
I picture Simon sitting ass naked in a chair, hung up to the ceiling with a lemon wedge in his mouth at like the hour 35 mark, just edging himself closer and closer to coming.
I gotta tell you, I mean, listen, it's great to have. That's not at all what it's like. Matt.
The studio?
Sorry to disappoint you. The whole ritual.
Fair enough.
I love it when he has somebody on Rogan. So at least we can talk about it without being accused of fucking railroading the podcast. You know what I mean? But like, listen, it is what it is.
It is what it is. Welcome to the party.
It's not. They don't break new ground on these shows.
I think that was a good thing, though. I think it was a good thing they didn't break new ground.
Well, I mean, it's more meant for people who don't know anything. It's a great introduction. Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Do we want to run down the guests?
How's your week, Matt?
Oh, my week was absolutely nothing to write home.
Sorry I asked.
No, I appreciate you asking. It is what it is, as Max Holloway would say. I texted Simon yesterday, and I was like, if you want to watch the fights, I can't do all of them. I was like, I'm tired. We'll just do the main card. I was like, show up around 9:45. I wake up on the couch at like 9:30, and Mary's like, aren't the fights on? I was like, yeah, the boys are coming over at like 10. Simon shows up probably at around 10 o'clock, and I look at my phone. I'm like, there's 2 fucking fights left.
Oh, it was an earlier card.
Super early. And then even then,
there was 1 fight left.
well, there was 2 when you got there,
But in your head, you thought, there'll be 3 or 4 fights we could watch.
I thought the whole card. I thought the whole main card. Yeah.
Because usually it starts at 10.
That's it. And then even crazier is the second we turn it on, fucking Hermanson's got his hand up. He heel hooked Gastelum in like a minute and a half. So
and the
No,
other
Gastelum lost.
And the other fight didn't even last a round either. Like,
yeah, Benavidez just got fucking dusted.
That's why you got to sit down and watch for the long haul.
Yeah, no, you do. It's true. Good call, Corn.
For the full experience.
All right, run them down for us.
I love to, Matty. We had a great week this week. We started with a walk down memory lane with Bob Saget, a.k.a. Danny Tanner, 1507. Then we had
I never would have remembered his name on the show.
everyone's favorite billionaire libertarian, 1508, Peter Schiff.
Is Peter Schiff a billionaire?
it's Schiff, I think.
Maybe he's not a billionaire.
No T.
He walks around like a
Is there
billionaire.
a T?
Okay. It's Schiff.
Schiff. Did I say Shifty?
But maybe, who knows? Maybe he's got a brother named Peter Schiff.
Followed up by Abigail Schreier, 1509, an interesting discussion on transgender. And we finished the week
For Simon.
1510, long overdue, George Knapp with a little side of Jeremy Corbell.
Never a little side. It's not like you got a ramekin of Jeremy Cordell.
I feel like
Corbell, and he was much better this time.
I will agree with that.
And
I
when
think
you
you're coaching or something.
well, I think that when you have like a credible talker like George Knapp, he doesn't need to say so much. When you have the Colonel Fravor or Bob Lazar, these are guys who aren't used to being on podcasts and things, and I think they needed more help.
See, this is
coming
where you
out of
lose
their
me.
shell.
I can see when Bob Lazar was there, it made a little sense because he seems a bit unhinged.
Camera shy.
Sure.
Unhinged.
I don't know. Maybe I'm being harsh there, but whatever.
He had migraines.
He did, yes. Fravor seemed like he was fully could have been there alone. Like Fravor seemed like he could have held his own, and this guy absolutely did not need Jeremy Corbell.
I wonder too if Jeremy goes there just in case, like Joe, we don't think is going to press too hard. You know what I mean? But if he just kind of like how when they started talking about Skinwalker Ranch, and he just got so dismissive.
Well,
I think it's good then to have Jeremy there to be that other guy, and maybe. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say we'll save it for the episode because we'll get there.
Yeah.
I don't want to beat that whole horse to death
Sorry,
early.
sorry.
I know Simon's
Carried
chomping.
away. I got carried away.
Champing at the bit.
Champing at the bit.
There
Thank
you go.
you,
You like
Matt.
that?
You know how I appreciate that.
I try, buddy.
Yeah. All right. Let's do this.
Well, let's rate the week first.
Oh yeah. Let's do that.
If you don't mind.
No, I don't care. I don't fucking care.
Simon, we'll start with your 5.
No, it's not a 5. It is a 4.
Let me ask you a question, though.
There we
So
are.
for you, if it was like Lazar, Hancock, Alex Jones,
Oh, wow.
and then like a Bigfoot guy. Is that a 5-star week for you?
That's
finally?
like a 10 out of
Okay.
5. Yeah.
Okay.
Listen, this week was okay. It was good. It was great. But Abigail Schreier,
It's weird that you hated that one out of all of them.
I didn't hate her, but like, I don't fucking care. Like, I don't want to have that conversation.
But that was kind of her point. That's why she's there.
Well, great. And I listened but look, I'm going to do my job. It weighs the week down for me. And it's not because I hate trans people. It's just because, look, I do this for entertainment. You know what I mean?
I'm here for entertainment, not chicks with dicks.
But that's the only one of the
Well,
week.
I didn't want to say it, Matt, but thank you very much.
That's the only show of the week that sort of
Well, what were the other ones? I forgot.
Peter Schiff.
Oh, and Peter Schiff,
Bob Saget.
like, those ones confuse. You know what? Let's just start. Let's just fucking.
Why don't we start?
Yeah,
Sure.
Why don't we?
Rate the week.
Oh, rate the week. Right. Sorry.
That was my fault. That was actually my fault.
I will give it a 4.5.
Wow. So the transgender
You
talk.
got stuck after you just did that. But anyways, let's move on. I rated a 4.5 as well, actually. I thought it was a great week.
I'll give it a 4. I think 4.5. You guys are maybe being a bit.
I think it's one of those things that we've had such low scores all over the place, and this was a really solid week with diversity.
Do you know what it was, Kamara? I'll agree with you here. Is you keep mentioning it like it was a very like COVID, Black Lives Matter. It seemed very much back to like pre
Specialists and their issue sort of thing.
There you go. Yeah. So I'll agree with that. Just a comedian and then some people in their field. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. All right.
And
so
a comedian who's never been on before.
Yeah. Weird. Bob Saget's first time. He drops more names than the game.
Sometimes I come in here and say that, but with Bob Saget, it's different from name dropping. It's apparent he's been around forever and just knows everybody.
If he left those names out of the story,
fine, it would be awkward, but hear me out.
doing a
Well,
disservice.
first of all, say the name and the number, please, so I can get into it. Come on, Bob Saget.
1507, Bobby
you.
Saget.
Robert Saget. So, how I don't know. Here's a good example. Joe says something to Bob, and he goes, well, yeah, what were you when I was doing that? You must have been, what, 6? And I was like, Bob, you're like 9 years older than Joe, or maybe 11 years. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, maybe tone it to end. Like, this is a 30-year veteran, and he sells out shows. That, you know what I mean? It seemed odd.
He's just even older veteran.
I understand that, but
I didn't realize how long Bob Saget has been. Like, he could just be the America's Funniest Home Video guy. Or he could just be Danny Tanner. You don't even think about his stand-up, plus acting, plus just working, knowing Bill Cosby, whatever, all the names he dropped. I appreciate it as just a walk down memory lane in a different way than sometimes I get annoyed with people.
I hear
dropping
what
names.
Matt's saying, though. As much as I like this podcast, there were times where he irked me a little bit.
I mean, listen, it's Bob Saget.
He's an
Sometimes
awkward
he's
person.
just too much. You know what I mean? Like, he even knows it. He's like, I can't help but go. Like, hanging out with Bob Saget, maybe that's not how he is in real life, but I feel like it is. I feel like at dinner, it would be tough for him not to be on all the time.
He's like dad jokes, but they're dark dad jokes.
Yeah, like a
He's
dog
just
gets fucked in every one of them. Or,
Corny as hell. It's just the way he is. And I think that's consistent and adorable.
The thing that turned me on Bob Saget was the Aristocrats, as I'm sure it was for many people.
His telling of the
Because
joke, or just that he was involved with the production?
I think before that,
didn't even
Simon
know
didn't
he was
know that he
involved
was.
in the production.
I don't know that. I was just
Yeah.
he was one of the people in it,
Yeah, well, there were like 50 comedians.
and
in it.
all 50 you loved their telling of the Aristocrat
No.
joke. Okay,
No, I loved his telling it, but I also didn't know he was so. What do they call it? Blue?
Yeah,
Yeah.
dirty.
Like, to me, he was the
the dad from
dad
yeah.
and the
America's
video
Funniest
guy,
Video.
and all of a sudden he's talking about and his joke is so great. Man.
Well, that helps if you don't know that all his comedy is blue, and the first time you see him, like, Danny Tanner, what's
Yeah,
going on?
Wow.
But he played Blues Fest a couple years ago,
Oh yeah.
outdoor.
Who did I see at Blues Fest that year? We went
Bill
to see a
Burr.
comedian.
Bill
Bill
Burr.
Burr's
Was
done
it
it as
Bill
well.
Burr?
I think you saw Bill Burr. Yeah, I wasn't living in the city at the time, but I'm pretty sure that was like the one that everyone Went to. But since you can't remember, I don't know.
But
Well, I don't know. I've still seen Bill Burr a bunch of times, so
he does the guitar act, and he's dirty, and he's Bob Saget.
I definitely didn't see Bob Saget.
No.
Real quick, did anyone watch Jim Jeffries' new special?
I started watching the first joke, and I think it's all right, but I haven't gone back to it.
Okay, so
Well,
it's
the trans and his dad, or his dad accepting gay marriage.
sure. I mean, it starts a bit slow, but it might be one of the best in a long time.
Wow, high praise.
The way it's built, the way he comes back, like finish it and then tell me what you think because I don't.
Will do.
I agree, Kumar. When it started, I was kind of like, I don't know if this is.
I don't know. I was like, okay, Jim's still. I mean, I think you have witnessed some growth in him or something. I have been looking ever since he sort of ambushed Jordan Peterson, been skeptical. I mean, he's still a killer comedian, no matter what.
I give him the benefit of the doubt there. It's edited. It's a show that's on a network. There's people behind. You know what I mean? You never know.
Of course.
Since
Oh, and hold on. I'm sorry, Simon. Just real quick. The ambush. Again, he said something to Jordan Peterson, and then Jordan Peterson was like, "Okay, in that case, in that specific case, I would agree with you that ambush is a tough one."
It was just a weird thing if it was ambush,
I know.
a gotcha moment, whatever.
Yeah. But it didn't feel like gotcha because it felt like Jordan Peterson was like, "Yeah, no, you're right," and that's
a good point. From that point of view, I would have to look at it this way. That just seemed like I didn't see it though. So
I think more the
shouldn't even
swirl
be
of social
talking,
media
yeah.
makes it that way.
Well, I
Jim
think-
Jeffrey owns Jordan Peterson or whatever.
of course. And I don't think that Jordan. Yeah, whatever. We'll move on. Sorry, Simon. I cut
No,
you
it's
off there.
it's okay. I like I said though, I wish I could comment. I've never even watched that stupid clip.
You're a better man for it.
No, I just whatever.
He just says to him, he's like, if I, should a Christian baker have to?
I know it. Yeah. No, I know exactly what it is. I just mean I should have watched it, so I at least have
Whatever.
Am I bad
anyways.
for make me a judgment on Jim Jeffries? One moment.
Since Adolf Hitler, since the name Adolf, has another name ever been so quickly cast aside as Karen?
Do you know that
It's crazy.
I read that since December of 2018, not a single child born in Canada has been named Karen.
But I mean,
It's a genocide of a name.
It really is going to be wiped right off the map of names.
The Karens that are standing today are the last of the Karens.
I think so. The
That's
very last
interesting.
Karens, like the last unicorn.
Hopefully they can use it to monetize themselves.
It's not that crazy to me though. There's tons of names that you don't hear Gertrude a lot.
Well,
you don't hear Margaret's like.
You don't hear, but then they come back. You know what I mean? Gertie is a really cool name for a baby. Olivia was like, nobody wanted it for a while because it was so old. And then it came back. Marjorie, like they all come back, man, because that's when you're going to name your kids, you start looking at all those old names again. Karen is never coming back. It's done. It's dead.
Is the word a better place
Just
for it?
like Adolf. Nobody names their kid Adolf. Even the fucking Germans don't name their kids Adolf anymore.
Do you see a time where Karen will still be used to describe a woman that is difficult? I believe that's how it works. I guess it could be a guy as well, but there will be no Karens on the planet.
Well, I think that, yes, it'll still retain its Karen-ness. But,
You guys are
sorry,
crazy. That shit'll go away in like half a year.
back to your, can you call a man a Karen? Or is he
Well,
like
you've called yourself Karen.
a Ken?
You've called yourself a Karen.
I said,
A
I've gone,
Carl.
You
I've
said I
gone
went
full
full Karen.
yeah.
That's what I was referencing.
Just as somebody who complains.
But do you know that it's in the lexicon Ken now?
Well, I'm asking.
I do not know.
That would be fitting, though.
I don't,
Ken is a stupid name anyways.
because I paint by myself, I don't interact with enough people to call people stuff.
So everybody's murdering people.
Just the people he's killing. Yeah, no, I got it.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to talk to a dead man.
And they tell no lies. How
Are
much
you looking at me for something there? Sorry.
How much
I
you guys
was
think?
waiting for the boom boom.
How much you guys think Bob Saget's worth?
Oh, that's a good question. I think he's worth 26 million.
See, this is where it's weird because you look at like the twins, and like they were each worth 100 million.
Oh,
but
They had merged
Hold on.
videos.
But Bob Saget had a coke problem. So I don't know. I'm going to say off residuals, he's worth 35 million.
According to the internet, he's worth 50 million.
There
What did you say?
26.
So he's managed his money as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good
they
for
didn't-
him.
They didn't get into the coke at all in this podcast.
Yeah, no, they didn't. I wonder
I've
if
noticed that Joe does
even
not
knew.
get into people's drug talks. Like, he doesn't get into people's habits.
Dark times in their life.
I
Yeah.
mean, if they want to talk about it, they're going to bring it up, you know?
Well, I think this all stems back to when it was Robert Downey Jr. He didn't talk about it, and we thought, well, the reason why it could be constructive is to help other people.
I still stand by that.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that would be the
but
only reason he
it
would.
still needs to be that person. They
Yeah,
need
it
to
needs
be
to be your
into
prerogative.
it,
I get
or
it.
they're
I'm
not
not-
going to
yeah.
be able to help anybody.
He may
you know?
still be embarrassed or stigmatized by it.
How about Corona beer? Is that true?
That they stopped manufacturing? No,
that can't be true.
Jamie brought it up. He was like, they just stopped manufacturing it during COVID because they couldn't have people at the plant and stuff. But
I think Bob Saget came with a litany of half-truths.
listen, there's no way that the people of Earth are stupid enough to let a beer company go out of business because of something. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to stop drinking Corona beer because of this virus? It doesn't.
Well, I thought it worked out that Modella actually owns Corona, so it'd be more like stopping a brand, not the whole company going under. But I don't believe it happened.
I mean, that's probably true, but I still don't think that Corona as a brand goes away.
I don't think we're that stupid either.
No. Although you never know.
You really broke that seal early, eh, buddy?
Broke what
We're
seal?
seal.
The seal.
Oh, don't tell me I'm sweating, then I'll sweat.
Don't. Rude.
Like you can feel it.
It's warm in here, man. The lights don't help. I'm
I
telling
know,
you, the
I know.
fucking lights do not help.
So they were talking about Dana Carvey, who I agree, great comedian from back in the day.
He'd be
Amazing.
on my list of like probably top 10 people I'd love to see.
He's
on
up
the
there
show.
with impressionists, too.
Didn't know that his Lorne Michaels was what Dr. Evil was based on. That's fun. Fun fact.
I actually didn't know that.
And it's sort of like Mike Myers stole it. But I'm sure there's such
No,
good
no,
friends,
I
so.
think he probably said.
Here's some
Was
points.
Dana in
No.
But
But
no,
Dana
we're
at
in
that
Wayne's
point,
World.
he had left Hollywood. So I'm sure, like Kamar's saying, Mike Myers went to him and was like, listen, I'm making this movie. Do you mind if I use your character?
Dana had done a bunch of like Hollywood movies. I remember he was really big for a while. He did like that. None of them were like great. He did Taking Care of Business. He did a bunch of shit. And then he did that one where he was the turtle. And that just killed him. What was that? Well, he played like a spy or something.
Yep.
But I just remember right after that, you just never saw Dana again.
Well, maybe it's because Hollywood forced him to do that movie. Like maybe he had one movie left on a contract and they made him do that.
Maybe.
And he was like, oh, well, I'm done with Hollywood.
Or
Fuck
maybe
this.
it was like a Tom Green type of situation where just, one movie fucking toppled his career.
Maybe.
It's a Freddy got fingered. Yeah.
Dana got fucked.
Yeah, exactly. And then two other great movies they talked about at the same time. Raising Arizona and The Big Lebowski. Yeah, both Coen brother movies. And
Neither of them are the best Coen brother movie, though.
are those the only two comedies they've done? Like straight up comedies?
Oh, brother, where art thou?
That's not really a comedy, is it?
What would you consider a musical?
It's a comedy.
Okay.
I think it's a comedy.
I don't put it in the same like vein as a Big Lebowski, let's say.
But I think some people would maybe argue that. I mean, sure. Some people would maybe argue that The Big Lebowski isn't a straight up comedy.
Oh, it's 100% a comedy. Every 3 minutes in that movie, you are belly laughing.
Raising Arizona?
No, the Lebowski.
Lebowski.
Yeah, but whether you are or aren't, okay. I mean, sure. I'm just saying, there's a lot of stuff in that movie that would classify it as maybe a comedy / something else.
I mean, it'd be like a dark comedy
Sure.
at points.
Yeah.
Well, all their stuff is dark
All
comedy.
there, but
That's kind of my point.
I mean, Raising Arizona kind of has a more just
Simon, people would consider Fargo a comedy.
I mean, I can't. It's not.
It is the actual Minnesotan mannerism stuff is the comedy of it.
Yeah, I mean,
Even then,
Here.
there's actually a lot of times where you laugh in that movie. A ton.
The simplistic way they talk. But Raising Arizona, they're bank robbers. Like, they're bad people, right? They're supposed to be, but you're laughing the whole time and everything.
Yeah, the whole time.
Now,
Either
I
way, No
s-
Country for Old Men is their best movie.
I see what you guys are trying to do here, and I'm not biting.
Simon's trying to drive the movie game in the
He's
direction
trying
he
to.
wants.
And what we're actually going to do
Is
because-
Barton Fink. No,
No, it ties in with the third guest. We're going to do Miss Doubtfire
okay.
because it came up. They thought he was trans, but he's not really trans. And this is the first time in a long time we're doing the movie game in the first episode, but they were talking about movies.
Oh, we're doing it now.
We're doing it right now. Miss Doubtfire. All because of Bob Saget loving Robin Williams.
Who doesn't love Robin Williams?
Can I have?
You got to be a real piece of shit if you don't love
I-
Robin Williams.
I agree with that statement. Can I say? Oh, by the way, look, the page that I'm on, we did Patch Adams.
Oh, that's
that's a
weird.
Matrix
That's
moment.
weird. That's me and too sloppy. It's the movie game where Matt and Simon go head to head to guess the year a movie came out, the budget, and the box office gross.
Mrs. Doubtfire.
So before we do Mrs. Doubtfire, real quick, I have Robin Williams has a place super close to my heart. When I was like 6 years old, I guess someone in my household had bought like the Good Morning Vietnam soundtrack, and on the soundtrack, every second track is Robin Williams on the radio from the movie.
Isn't it not the Good Morning Vietnam soundtrack?
That's what I just said.
Yeah, they play the songs and hit the clips from the movie,
That's what I just said.
and that's why you love them.
No, what I'm getting to it. It's fine. What I was going to say is when I was 6, I memorized everything on that album.
All his monologues.
That was it, everything. And my parents would have me like deliver it when people came over. I was like a fucking party trick. But that was like my first foray into, I guess, entertaining or like performing for people.
But you didn't even know when you did the comfortable shoes lines you were talking about lesbians.
I had no idea what I was talking about
You
for
know-
any
you
of it.
know
It was
what I
just
mean?
words that
Just
it was just saying words.
Repeating the words.
Yeah, 100%.
No context whatsoever.
Dude, I didn't know what the fuck, what Ho Chi Minh Train, you know what I mean? Like I was fucking 6. I had no idea.
No, that is a classic. Good Morning Vietnam. Everyone should go watch that. And based on a true story.
Are you ready for the year, Simon?
Oh, yeah, I'm done.
Oh.
It's a new leaf.
Okay, hold on. I'm
new
actually going to
movie
change
game.
this. I'm changing this as stupid as this is. Now I'm ready.
Okay.
What year do you have, Simon?
I said 2005.
Are you fucking crazy? I have 1995.
And you'd be correct if you'd said 1993.
Wow. It's that long ago.
That's why I said, are you fucking crazy?
Wow. I was really young when that
So
came
now
out.
we're not in the ballpark.
Well, I was at least somewhat close. I was 2 years off.
Starring Robin Williams, Sally Field, Pierce Bronson, Harvey Feinstein, and Robert Prosky.
Harvey Feinstein. Oh my God.
That's amazing.
He's not the best representation of my people, eh?
No. Or the gays. Like, he's like the ultimate gay Jew.
All right. I'm probably so far off on this shit now that I think about it. But it was you said 1995, right?
1993.
93 was
95 was
God,
God's
I
guess.
said 95.
It was a different world back then.
It was. It was.
Okay,
a
you
fair
go
statement,
first,
Sam.
Matt, because
I'm
then
not
I can
ready yet.
change
I'm
my
not
No
ready.
smartphones.
No, that's not how this works. Are you clocked in yet?
Yeah, I'm clocked.
I'm not. I'm really going out on a limb here. All right, I'm ready.
Oh, this can't be right.
I think we're going to have some surprise here.
Okay, let's go.
We have a
I'll-
last
I'll
minute
leave
change?
it. I'm not changing.
Wow, okay.
Leaving it.
I said $32.5 million to make it.
I said 34 million to make it.
Wow.
So,
Wow. So if we win, we both win.
Yeah.
And I said it made $210.8 million.
and I said it made $298 million.
Well, you guys were close in the budget. It was $25 million.
Let me guess. It made $496 million.
441.
Because it hit everybody, man. The family,
Feel-good
the
movie.
people who liked Robin Williams, the people who didn't know what they were getting themselves into.
And it came out November 24th. So I think that's sort of like Black Friday.
440, Kamar, is that what you said?
441.
Jesus. And what was the budget?
25. You guys are just over on the budget.
All right. Well,
Classic feel-good
let's
movie.
move on. Okay, so Joe said if he never does another arena again, he'd be okay with that. If he only does clubs. And I believe him because he doesn't need the money from these stadiums. And frankly, I wonder if after a while he was just like, this is not how comedy is supposed to be. I can tell you, like I have a million times on this podcast, when I went to see Joe in Toronto, it was way too many people. There were people standing up and going and leaving and coming the whole fucking time while he's in the middle of jokes. Like, it's insane. When I went to see Gaffigan, another huge show, my wife had bought us tickets so close up that I had to strain my neck so badly to watch that. Like, it was useless.
Important lesson
It
learned.
is not how it's supposed to be. Period.
Sound like a complaining little Jew,
Yeah,
to be
like
honest.
an old man.
Well, no, I just because like I was about to say to you, well, Simon, maybe you need to sit closer because I saw Chappelle in Vancouver. We sat row 2. Maybe it was a different scenario staging wise, but like I didn't find it straight. I was like, this is incredible, and there was probably 1,200 people at that show.
Okay, so okay. I don't know what to tell you. Listen, I've seen a lot of comedy shows. I've seen Chris Rock for 300 people, and I was in the front row, and you only had to lift your neck a little bit because the stage is only like 3 feet up instead of being 13 feet up because they have to have sight lines for the fucking people who are paying nothing to watch in the back when you're paying huge dollars to be in the front. Like, it's just, listen, I just won't do it again. I've learned my
I
lesson.
think 300 is the max. 300 people. I mean, all the shows I've seen at the NAC are
Like,
good.
what is the NAC big room? Is that about 300 people?
I say more than that.
I saw Bill Burr at the Civic Center, and he was incredible. Didn't bother me at
That
all.
was 5,000. Yeah, that was all right. I was too high, though, and had a rafter in my face. I mean, you look at the screen, but just little stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I
The
get
club
it.
is more intimate and cooler.
Of course, the club is always where comedy, 100 people.
But even when we went to see Jim Jeffries,
yeah,
like, that's okay. I'm okay with that. It's
mean, the
still,
NAC
it's
sits-
still a lot of people.
that's got to be 5,000.
and it's a great theater.
But every seat is meant to. You're not in a.
I get it. I get it.
In a sports arena
know.
that
I
isn't
know.
meant for comedy.
Yeah.
That's it.
I'm telling you, though, if Chappelle and Rogan came to Toronto or Montreal, we'd go. You would not go. I mean, maybe right now during
if
COVID.
Chappelle came, I don't know if I'd go see Rogan again. I'm telling you, man, it cost me like $220 or whatever the fuck it was. I had to drive to Toronto for it, which I had to stay there.
I know.
I hate Toronto, and fuck, like, I don't know, man. I love Joe, but I thought it was a terrible way to watch comedy.
I mean,
Road trip.
I spent $600 each on Chappelle seats, so I'm with you. But
Yeah, and I've seen Joe before. Like, I've never seen Chappelle, so obviously I would go way out of my way to see that show, and I would strain my neck to see that show. You know?
Yeah, we were talking about the biggest room is Southam Hall, and it only holds 2,065.
where's that in
NAC.
at the NAC? Oh,
The
wow.
big
Okay.
room.
Yeah. Ah, that's only 2,500 people. Holy fuck.
Sidebar, you brought up Jim Gaffigan, and in this podcast, I think Saget was sort of shitting on Trump's Mount Rushmore speech.
Yeah.
And after he put the speech out, Gaffigan put out his clip joking about his bit about Mount Rushmore, and he got attacked by the left and the right. And he said, this is ridiculous because this is from 6 years ago. This has nothing to do with Trump.
Yeah.
This was just my take on Mount Rushmore. But he put it out, and people were like, oh, this is pro-Trump. Oh, this is anti-Trump. That, just to give you a state how crazy the world's gotten.
I got to say, and maybe this will piss some Americans off. I don't really care. Someone posted a photo of the entire mountain the other day, which I'd never seen, like an aerial shot of not just the faces, but the entirety of the mountain. And it's kind of gross.
That they did that?
Yeah. Like, I mean, I get it. It doesn't matter. It's a mountain. It's the side. It's a rock face. But when you're just looking at it as a whole, there's something
see how it's
about it that
offensive?
just...
But is it because, like, we look at the things that the Egyptians did and we love that, right? So how is this different? It's just more modern and it's done by people in our time, but they're going to look at this years from
But what did the
now.
Egyptians do? Like,
The
Is this
Sphinx,
destroying nature?
whatever, where they carve giant images of themselves. Like, a lot of the kings did that, you know?
Sure.
Across time, not in just Egypt,
yeah.
just everywhere. I mean, that's...
listen, I'm not saying tear it down. I don't give a fuck.
No, I'm just it seems gross now. I totally get what you're saying because you're like, it's too soon.
Well, no, it's not only that, Simon. It's that, like, okay, well, when the Egyptians did it, we still sit here and are like, we don't really have any idea how at that time they were able to do it. If you go back to like 1920, you're like, well, I have a firm idea how this guy did it.
I mean, I'm not sure
It's still
I
impressive
have
all the
any
same.
idea how they did Mount Rushmore.
think with chisels.
I'm gonna have to go and look now. But if that's the case, that is unbelievable. You know, like,
Have you ever seen the size of David?
yeah,
The statue of David?
yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking staggering. That's just as crazy to me as, I mean, I don't know.
No, it's not even close.
I get in scale it's not as close, but I'm just saying, like, to me, all of that is crazy. But why do you have to go, I don't know. Who cares? You have to go chisel in the side of a mountain? It just seems odd.
I think at the time it seemed really cool and impressive, and now it doesn't seem
I'm
as...
just saying, I don't think it's aged well.
Well, obviously it's the place where it actually is hasn't aged well because it's on someone's ceded land or whatever. But I don't think technology's advanced that it'd be easy to pull off now. Carve faces into a mountain. It's still
Dude,
impressive.
they use fucking lasers.
And what are they carving on the opposite side now? Some Indian chief, I think, Native American
Running
chief.
bull? I think
yeah,
it's running
somebody
bull
to
or-
try and. But long before COVID, I think that's been their plan for a while.
Doesn't matter. In 50 years, we'll find out he was a rapist, and then they'll have to blow up the whole goddamn mountain.
Well, they were stealing tons of white women, according to Joe.
Well, you can steal white women. We know that. That's fine.
That's fine, right? Gotcha. Sorry. So they were talking a little bit about empathy because they were talking about, people wearing masks, and whether you believe it or not, you just wear them because if it is true, you're helping out somebody else.
Yes.
And I started thinking about that a little bit, and I started thinking about COVID itself and how at the beginning it seemed like there was a lot of empathy going on. You know what I mean? Like everybody was like okay with.
Oh, it was like, we are the
locked.
world.
But now that I think about it, and I guess time has shown us, but even I don't even think it was empathy. It was fear, right? Like we were all so afraid for ourselves. It
But
really
to say there was
had-
empathy, there were people going and let's just back it up a sec. Forget the people that were hoarding toilet paper, because we know there was a lot of that. He keeps talking about Fauci lying to us. Think about the reasons behind it, first of all. There were already people before they were like, you have to wear a mask, there were already people hoarding masks and trying to sell them at exorbitant rates, right? So imagine if they had came out right away and not lied. Imagine if they'd come out day one and been like, everybody needs to have a mask. People would have been it would have been a goddamn free-for-all out there. It would have been fucking mayhem to get a mask. Not saying they should have lied, but I'm just saying.
No, there are way better ways they could have gone
So
about
we're giving Fauci a break?
No, they could have announced to the stores immediately, take all your masks off your shelves. If we see anybody selling masks in a
But
retail
that
setting,
leaks somehow, and then there's still mass
but
hysteria.
Mask hysteria.
and then in the same breath, you say, this is the blueprint to go home and make yourself a mask out of something that everybody has, a t-shirt, a whatever. Look, man, that's how you do this. This would have curbed this whole thing by a long shot.
As we were wearing masks in Canada, and we're curbing it. How do you guys feel about Fauci? Fauci good, Fauci bad?
Fauci bad.
Fauci bad.
Yeah, Fauci bad for sure.
Is it weird that he's been in that position for 30 years?
No, I think that totally makes sense. He's one of those guys, like in the deep state, that just goes from cabinet to cabinet to cabinet. He doesn't care who comes in and out.
just-
Republican,
his cushy
Democrat.
position.
He doesn't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like he works for people who need him in there regardless.
And then on double strike, he went to a religious private school.
And he was best friends with the Clintons.
So Fauci bad.
Fauci.
Real bad.
Fauci,
No,
Fauci.
Fauci.
And
I'm
you're
with you.
you're on the fence?
I don't know shit about this guy. Don't care.
Anyways, all I was saying
Don't
before was, I just think a lot, what we attributed to empathy, a lot of it was just everybody looking out for their best interest, which makes sense. I'm not, like, I did the same thing.
Is that
I'm
the
not-
opposite of empathy, though?
Yeah, I think so. And then Trump, who has no empathy, you know what I mean? What do they say the first thing about a sociopath?
No empathy?
No empathy.
Are you just have you just cracked this case wide open? Is that
No.
okay? Just
These are my notes I had. Sorry,
Gotcha,
they kind of
gotcha.
jumped around there for a second. So okay, fine. Brian Holtzman story number 196. Like, where are we here? I tried to
Unreal.
look it up on the internet to see if somebody had done the work for me.
They've got to record that, and Jamie's got a clip, and just as he opens his mouth, just play it. Just so he go, oh, yes. I've
But
told
he
that
know
many times."
he has to know. He has to know
He has to know that he's told that a million times.
that it's like his thing, you know?
I wish we had an
His whole-
actual.
I hope that's the truth, that he's doing it. I'm fucking saying it again, but
It's like his Olive Garden.
but less annoying.
Because I was sorry, just real quick. I was saying to Simon, I was like, the amount of times he's told it though, Kamar, and gotten no reaction. It's like, when you drop what you think is a zinger to a room, but maybe someone sort of interrupted in the middle, and you didn't get any laughs, so you're like, okay, well, I gotta drop that one again because I don't think anyone heard it. And you drop it again, and still no one laughs, and you're like, oh no, it was just no one thought it was funny. Like,
And they're like, yeah, we were there when Holtzman told it. It wasn't funny that night, and it ain't funny now.
I don't think Holtzman has hours upon hours of comedian and of comedy, and I think anyone who works at the Comedy Store has heard that bit and is like, yes, Joe, I know it very well.
I think anyone that listens to the show is like, oh my God, not this bit. Like, and I get it. Sometimes there's just a bit where you can't, even as a comedian, you can't do it any justice. It has to be, you had to be there, it had to be the telling, but like, he doesn't, I don't know, he does it no justice.
But in his defense, we were talking about, we've covered, I think, almost 500 episodes.
Yep.
Of Joe Rogan, and I don't remember anything. People, we get messages, thank you for everything, commenting on something like, I don't know who said what,
Yeah,
and so
I never know what they're
Joe
referring
talking to 1,500 people, maybe it's just a
Yeah, no, it's
swirl.
true. Yeah, when someone
In
writes
his
in, they're like,
defense.
Matt, that thing you said in episode 62, I'm like, dude, I don't remember the thing I said last week.
It's really strange.
They were talking about Bill Burr's breakout moment where he did that rant in Philly.
The Philly
So
incident.
that is so funny. The fucking fuck you and fuck the Liberty Bell.
The biggest shame is the quality of the footage of that. I mean,
I've never seen this.
I've never seen it either.
Well, no, I've seen.
it's grainy.
For me, there's no footage. It's always just audio.
Yeah, I think but even the footage that was, you couldn't really see what was going on.
I just love how he comes out so fired up.
because he was
You
offended.
guys are gonna fucking boo Dom Irrera. The man's a fucking legend.
And I wonder, I'm sure Bill Burr is just a classic, but he was nobody at this time. Just a working comedian.
Yeah,
just
yeah,
get through.
yeah.
He wasn't the Bill Burr of the world.
Don't
I wonder
forget-
if he comes out and does that now.
Don't forget, Bill Burr was on the Chappelle show.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, that's it. Just
trying to get
just,
by. Just another guy.
just a guy. Yeah, just a working comedian.
Now Bill Burr is Bill Burr.
So, sorry, were you guys done with Billy?
I was just thinking about. He was in like the racial draft.
What got? I don't know if you read any reviews about this episode or anything like that.
Bob Saget's.
The
No.
second one, no.
But everything about Saget's episode was everything I saw was all about Joe talking about Mencia.
Yeah.
That seemed to be like the big,
I'm glad they broached that. Yeah.
and Joe saying, I hope everyone forgives him. That was the headline that was coming up.
And do you think Joe felt that when he got kicked out of the Comedy Store and
I felt
when it
like
happened?
when Joe was telling this story,
he decided?
he said that at the beginning. I hope everyone forgives him. And as he was telling the story, I felt like he was getting really angry.
Here's my
at
thing.
himself for saying that?
No. At like reliving the situation of how the store betrayed him.
I think about it like
Well, he
this.
left.
No, they kicked him out.
Yeah.
He said it's either going to be me or Mencia. He was on the phone with Mitzi. She said, "Okay, well, what time do you want to be on?" He said, "What time do you want me on?" She said 10. He said, "Fine." And then they called him back and said, "You're not coming back in."
Yeah, and so what I'm saying is he left, became Joe Rogan, despite, and came back. But I don't think it's impossible that he may still harbor some. But it's the other people.
My question is this: if Joe Rogan doesn't start the podcast, doesn't get $100 million Spotify deal, let's say Joe Rogan is just a touring,
Blue-collar,
struggling
working.
blue collar, does he still feel the same way? Like, let's say he never goes back to the store and Mencia's got $100 million podcast on Spotify. There's no way he can feel. The only reason he can come out and say, listen, just hear me out. The only reason I feel that he can come out and say, I hope people forgive him, is because he came out on top.
I mean, he had
was
already
doing well
done Fear
when it
Factor.
happened.
He
I
wasn't going to
understand
be
that.
a
I'm not-
broke comedian.
You're missing my point, though, is what I'm saying is, let's say he never goes back to the store and the podcast doesn't take off the way it does. I'm not saying he was going to be a broke comedian, but he'd be in a position where, he maybe like Brian Callen, he'd still kind of have to be touring during COVID or worried about, I don't know.
I just don't think he's a grudge guy. That's my only thing saying.
No, he doesn't seem like it. Like Simon was saying, it seemed like he was getting mad reliving it, and I agree, and I can see why. And
I don't think he's a grudge guy either. I just don't think he realized how
Till he said it out loud.
angry he still was at, like, not at anybody who's still there, at that one dude, whoever he is, that
Tommy.
guy, Tommy.
He was the manager who got fired for stealing anyway, so.
And you're right. If Joe doesn't go, everything's different, Like, this made the podcast. So
What a sweet position the Comedy Store's in, if you think about it. Like, they know that there's no way, no matter how long this COVID thing lasts.
I wouldn't go that far.
Really? With all the comedians that look at that place as Mecca, you don't think all of them wouldn't pay? I guarantee you Joe would just go around and be like, I got this month's rent. Who's got the next month's rent? Who has the one after that? And we're going to keep this fucking shit going until whenever the fuck.
That's totally possible, but there is a point, as we'll get to in the next guest, where if things have to fail, they have to fail. I mean, if ever there's a club that everyone will protect, I'm sure it's the Comedy Store or the Cellar in New York City, but who knows? Because if you listen to Joey Diaz, people are still bleak about this. They don't think there can be shows for another year in California.
There won't.
So
listen to all the people that wrote into this show in like March and were like, Matt's a fucking, you're crazy. I'm not. I wasn't. Fuck you.
That being said, I'm doing a show next week,
Yeah.
barring it being canceled. So who knows?
Keep in mind, Canada,
Who
we
knows?
got a grip on this thing. It seems like the States, it's kind of out of fucking control.
Till November, October.
and don't you kind of look at it like the same way? Like don't you learn anything from Brian Callen?
what?
You don't need to do that.
Shake everyone's hand. I need to do it to know if I can do it, if I want to do it anymore.
Hold on, though, Simon. In his
I've
defense,
been locked up for.
in his defense, the numbers in Canada justify him going out there.
Well,
I would at least
Kingston
say.
has lower numbers than here, so that's. I don't think I'd go into some hot zone.
You wouldn't go to Toronto to do comedy.
No, I don't think so. But I've been cooped up for 4 months, and I just want to try something. I want to feel something.
I look at it like he's traveling by car, 2 hours away to a less populated area to do a small 50-person comedy night. I don't know. I get what you're saying, Simon. I do. I don't think he's putting himself at that much risk given the numbers that we have.
When I was asked, I considered, should I say yes or should I talk to the guys and say, guys, I'm thinking about doing this. And then I was like, well, it's Kingston. They have lower numbers than us. And I'm going down there. I might have a horrible time, be like, fuck, I don't want to do this anymore. Or have a really great time. But I have to know.
I mean, Simon, don't forget, Mary's working at Ward right now. Like, it dawned on me the other night, sure, they're only serving till 1, but what the fuck? That's one less hour.
Just been cooped up. We're going to try. Hit the road again. Funny conversation they were talking about Rodney. Love Rodney Dangerfield. And I was listening to another podcast, Godfrey.
Yeah.
So he knew Rodney, and he also knew Fabio. He said he was working out with Fabio, and Fabio was talking about how he lived beside Rodney Dangerfield, and Rodney Dangerfield would always be up to like, hey, Fabio, you having some parties? You got to invite me. You never invite me over. And Fabio would never invite Rodney Dangerfield over.
I get no respect.
Come on.
That seems weird.
His underwear with his coke dribbling down his nose. Come on, Fabio.
You would think that Rodney would just have like carte blanche into any party he wanted.
You would think, but I think Fabio has
Fabio's a
higher
dick.
standards.
That's why he got hit in the face with a bird.
Those
Can't
probably
believe it's not
weren't
butter.
great parties, anyways.
A Fabio party?
Yeah.
I bet there had to be hot women there.
Even if they're not
Wasn't
party.
Fabio gay?
He's a supermodel. It doesn't matter. Do you think gay supermodels don't have a lot of hot women at their parties?
I don't know, man.
They must have been okay parties because Rodney Dangerfield was pining to get in.
He's hanging over the fence. Yeah.
Fabio, what are we doing here?
Joe again in this episode went out of his way to say what a great guy Bill Gates is.
You're starting to be concerned.
Well, I just think he's going to feel really stupid when it all comes out about Billy G.
Will it all come out?
Yeah, I think it will.
I think he's got too much money for
I
it.
love that
think-
you think everyone is a pedophile right now.
I think in the next 2 years, Kamar, you're going to see two things. You're going to see this whole weird thing bust right open, and you're going to see some sort of alien disclosure.
I think that's the crazy. I think we've seen the alien disclosure, and I thought about that. Listen to the last episode. The whole episode, it kept going through my head like human beings have this natural thing that they think something's going to happen in their lifetime.
Yeah.
But the chances of it actually happening in your lifetime are more ridiculous than anything.
Totally. But let's now go and look at all the things that have happened in our lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole shit ton.
like what?
The invention of the internet, people. Is that our lifetime?
I mean,
Beyond
the
meat.
invention of the internet, let's keep in mind, it's attaching two computers. It's connecting two
It
computers.
is as big a deal as going to space. About the impact that it's had. It's bigger.
But think about
I think what Kamar's talking about is like extinction level events. Like everyone thinks that the world will end on their watch. And they have since the beginning of time. Everyone's like,
or the big alien thing
Sure.
will happen
Yeah.
in my time.
I get what you're saying.
And I just think the odds of it happening are less than.
Okay, well, let's even back up to smaller steps, just about aliens. Yeah, we never thought that anything would happen during our lifetime. The Navy coming out, the government coming out and showing you those videos and admitting that there are things out there that they have that is, like, we're just so quick to say, oh, yeah, well, we knew that all along, right?
We are.
That is so fucking huge.
Well, that's my problem. I just don't feel it moves.
That happened during our lifetime. Yeah, I know. I don't know
This
why
is
you don't
frustration.
think it moved the lever, though, for you. You know what I mean?
Because, like you just said, oh, yeah, welcome to the party. We knew there was aliens and all this stuff.
Yeah, I don't I don't see how the government admitting that is moving the lever
And
or
finding out that they've been studying it for years, like, I don't know. That's pretty big, man.
I think you could walk out the street and tell someone that said, what?
I think
I never heard about this.
Right. Well, sorry, that too. And I think it's really easy, like, 3, 4, 5 months ago, the idea of there being a virus that sent everybody into their houses and shut down the economy and all that shit was like not even a thought on people's mind. And then it happens.
Yeah,
and now we're just used to it.
to say it wasn't a thought on people's minds, like there were
It
people
happens
out
every
there.
100 years.
It wasn't a thought on your mind or my mind or any like normal person's mind. Yeah, of course there were people thinking about it.
Okay, but that's a weird thing. Okay, Simon, but all I'm saying is like there's a lot of things that we don't think about that are right around the corner.
Like what?
Well, okay, asteroids.
I think about asteroids all the time.
Fine, but you're in the minority. Do you see what I'm saying? Kamar, how often do you think about asteroids?
I don't think about asteroids that much, but I think about super volcanoes more.
See there,
If
and
just
and I would
for
consider
different
him
people- for
probably
different people.
fine. Different strokes for different folks. He's probably.
You're totally missing my point, though. Fine. Okay, take whatever you want. Super volcanoes, whatever. If it were to happen tomorrow and it didn't wipe us all out, we would just, like, it would be crazy, just like the coronavirus was crazy. And then we get used, because humans just adapt. We
the end of the day,
get
that's
used to shit, And we'd get used to a super volcano, and we'd get used to a civil war, and we'll get used to whatever the fuck happens.
No, the super volcano, I think about would end life as we know it.
Okay, so maybe we'll
Don't forget, Mount
Start
St.
Ice
Helens
Age.
erupted in our lifetime.
Yeah. Something bigger than Mount St. Helens.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Super, yes, I understand, but
I said more that what you think about that may happen in your lifetime, could happen tomorrow, could happen in a million years. I think less about aliens and more about super volcanoes. That's all. I was just putting that out there.
Let me leave you with a final thought about Bob Saget. And
Okay.
It's kind of the way they left their thing. And I don't know if it's just me. You might notice this too, but I've noticed a lot of people talking about eating human beings lately. Have you?
no.
A lot of celebrities talking about eating human beings.
Okay, so they're just throwing it out there in the lexicon to
I
get
don't
us
know.
used
I don't.
to it, or
Who
He has something
knows?
he's looking
Anyways,
for.
they were
something he's looking
no.
for.
They were talking about it, and Saget said, all you'd need is like a Jay-Z and a Beyonce to come out and be like, human meat. Oh, the reason they were talking about it was because they were talking about meat made in a lab.
And beyond meat and whatnot.
Yeah, that's where that all started. But anyways, like I saw Chrissy Teigen, that fucking idiot on something
I
the
think
other
she's
day.
sketchy.
And she was doing this thing where she was like talking about how she would try human meat in a restaurant if they served it, or I don't know.
If it was a baby.
Do you not remember
man.
that was one of the Sacha Baron Cohen's things in his last season of This Is America, where he goes to he pretends to be like a high end. I can't remember whether he's pretending to be a high end food critic or whether he's pretending to be the chef.
Tell me the punchline though.
Well, no, that's it. He's like, this one is. He serves them. He's like, this is human meat,
Well, why don't I remember seeing that?
and the
I
guy's
watched
like,
that.
it's delicious. It's incredible.
The
And he
cons-
knows it's human meat.
It's not human meat.
No, but he thinks it's
yes,
human meat.
Yes.
The concern is, I would say, if, like you're saying, people are talking about is starting to normalize the
Well,
thought.
that's
and then
what
down
I'm.
the road,
That's
yeah.
what I'm worried about.
It's a concern.
You
And the
know?
wrong people.
Don't forget, there's a lot of parts in Africa where
I wouldn't be
they still eat
worried if I
human
heard
meat.
Trump talk about eating humans. I'd expect that.
Imagine if that was their plan for population control,
We just eat each
just
other.
like Soylent Greens all over again.
Well, the scary thing is, what if we taste amazing?
Well, I mean,
Well, we don't taste amazing because people have eaten human, like the alive people.
yeah, but they didn't have any seasoning.
Yeah, they
all in
were
the
on
seasoning,
top of a
Simon. I think
mountain
we know that.
freezing,
Right.
Picking
I'm
it
sorry.
off someone's ass.
I'm sorry. I see what you're saying. If you had the best chefs making,
Come on.
Praise.
Right.
Come
You know
on.
what? We're not having this conversation.
We just did.
No,
Hey,
we're not. We're not.
You
giving
put it into the lexicon because they wanted you to. You see what happened there?
Yeah, I do.
We're
I'm part of
normalizing
the
it.
problem.
We're
Matt.
normalizing
I'm part of the
it.
problem. Okay, that's all I had for
Robert.
what's his face.
Okay.
Did you?
I think it's funny. Just one last thing. I think it's funny that he's still in a band with Stamos.
Because all the hot chicks that come around. Even though he's married. He's 3-time married.
Well, he was married to Rebecca Romaine.
thrice.
No, not Stamos. Back to
Oh,
Saget.
Bob Saget. Sorry.
He was talking about divorce and
Stamos
stuff.
is like
He was divorced 3 times and he's still worth $50 million.
thrice.
Good job, Bob.
Yeah.
That means he was worth. Hold on.
Prenup.
So wait, he's worth 50. He was worth 100, 200. He's worth 4. He was worth 400
he
million.
had a prenup.
I think he was worth $250 million.
Trust me.
No one
Bob
on cocaine
Saget ain't
signs
no
a fucking
dummy.
prenup.
I feel like when they showed him in Entourage and he was super rich next door, always part of the girls, that was sort of very similar, not too far out of character.
I hope that's not the case because he was crazy on that show.
But this was a great podcast. Memory Lane, Eddie Murphy stories, Richard Pryor stories, Horace's Mouth. Some good questions that we usually don't like from the guest to Joe.
I think because of COVID, it made him a little too shticky. He was on a little too much, and had it just been normal times, maybe he would have been looser.
I think that's Bob
he's sticky.
Saget.
I think he's
You
sticky.
just think
Yeah.
that's Saget.
I genuinely
his
do.
Kevin Hart joke was funny.
And Kevin Hart thinks he's 2 of them.
Yeah, that was great, actually.
That shows he's there, but he's just a corny dad.
Yeah. Well, listen, I can appreciate corny dads.
Rate it.
Love the Bob. I'll give it a 4.5. It was. I really liked it.
I'll give it a 4.
Okay, I'll give it a 4. Fuck it.
I'll give it a 4.25.
And I don't like name dropping, but this time it was.
I have to get up to 4.5.
tasteful.
Sorry, Kumar.
Sorry, my bad.
No, you were good, Kumar. Okay, well, I guess that's it for Bob Saget. Let's move on.
Did you rate it?
Yeah, 4. Remember? And then you quickly jumped in and said 4.25.
Oh, yeah, right. Sorry.
You fucking prices righted me like a real piece of shit.
$1, Bob. $1.
So this one we knew a long time coming.
Peter Schiff. Yes, we did know this one was coming.
1508 Peter Schiff. It's me who's supposed to say that.
It's
And
fine.
It's you who
There's no
did.
rules. There's no rules here, guys.
Whatever. Man.
Off the top of the bat, never like a remote
Oh, it was
interview.
fucking horrible.
This
Well,
is-
Peter Schiff made it 10 times worse than it had to be.
Well, a ranter cannot. Sorry, did you want to go, Kumar?
No. I was just saying, Peter.
Yeah.
How many times just Peter, please, no, Peter.
A ranter cannot do these Zoom meeting things because
A rancher?
a rancher. No, because they can't stop. And then you get exactly, that was a great impersonation. You just forgot like you thought, at a couple of times I thought he was getting like legitimate angry.
Well, he was resigning to Jamie. Like, what are we doing here?
What are we doing here?
But I
This
think
guy is ridiculous.
He kept saying it's also because the delay.
Yeah, I
I
think
don't
he
think
was
it would-
just being polite.
I don't think it would happen in person.
He was
as
definitely
much.
being polite.
I think he was just being polite, man. Peter Schiff, like, he wasn't there to have a conversation with Joe. He was there to ranch for
Well,
3 hours.
part of it's Joe's fault, though, giving him all the props. Like, you break this down, like,
Yeah.
giving him the rope to hang ourselves with or whatever.
Yeah.
What I thought was just a little corny was how he was in front of the green screen with his investment company. He had a promotion the whole time, and Joe said, very smart doing that, because he had a whatever's label up. Because we say don't sell stuff, don't push stuff.
Well, what did Matt say to me yesterday? And I've just been thinking a lot about it is, what did you say to me yesterday?
Dude, I don't know. I woke up. I literally just woke up. When
No,
you got
hold
there.
on a second.
You woke up and said something?
No, he got.
No,
I'd woken up and
something
signed it
about
up.
Peter Schiff. Oh fuck! My brain just went fucking totally blank.
By the way, I looked it up. He's not a billionaire.
Yeah, I didn't think he was. He's got to be. What's he worth?
I can mix. Have a guess, boys. I mix him up with Peter Thiel.
Oh, and just be guaranteed that Joe got more than 1 million. Okay, we can just put that.
100 million.
Sorry, 100 million. We can put that to rest right now.
You don't know how much I got.
You don't know how much I got.
Very
that was I got way more than 100 million. You don't know how much I got.
Very interesting. I'm very happy with the deal. But just quick guesses worth it, then we'll get into it.
Schiff thinks Biden will win. You couldn't have liked that too much.
I think Biden's going to win. Have you looked at the polls? Like,
No, polls don't mean anything. They thought Hillary was going to kill it. Kamar, remember?
Yeah, the New York Times gave Hillary.
No, but I'm telling you, when that was happening, all the polls said Trump. The news was saying Hillary's going to win, but all the polls said Trump.
Oh.
Now all the polls say Biden.
Yeah, well, sorry. I remember what I was going to say now is that this guy talks about like equality and all of this. He's not paying taxes. He moved to a place to
this is what I
avoid
said.
his company paying taxes.
Admitted it.
No, I know.
You could do it too.
Okay, I'm not. Listen,
It's not a slight against
We
them.
are all granted. I might agree that our government is whack and it needs to have reform and all of those things, but we still need roads and we still need firemen and we still need all of that stuff. And taxes may be totally out of line, and that's why we have a vote to bring in new blood to fix these kind of things. But to just say, oh, well, fuck you guys, I'm out, you know, like,
Well,
everybody pays their share.
He's got to pay some taxes. He's got a place in New Hampshire or wherever he was from.
Okay,
He was in the
but his
States.
business doesn't pay any taxes. So he's exactly the same as the guys he's raging against, the Amazons who are sheltering, paying $7 billion.
Did you think he was raging against other companies or just government regulation?
Yeah, Simon. This.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
This is something I wanted to bring up too.
I
Is
guess
like
you're right.
I was thinking about it after this podcast. I was thinking about specifically Bezos, because there was another video circulating this week that was trying to give you a scale of Bezos's wealth, and this one used Minecraft. Now, Minecraft, I'm sure you've heard of. I don't know what it is that well.
I do. My son used to play it all the time.
There you go. So it's a game. We're obviously aware of what it is, right? But it's all blocks.
Yeah. So what's the analogy?
Very cute.
Either way, so the way it worked was one gold block was like $100,000. It was much like the rice, but this time they used Elon Musk as well. So they did like 100,000, a million, 10 million, a billion, whatever. And then they said, here's Elon Musk's pile, and they scroll out, and it's a huge fucking pile of these squares. And dude, then they zoom out and give you Bezos's, and it is unfucking fathomable how much money this guy has. And I started thinking about it. I was like, it really is true that he hasn't done, all he's done is win the game. They set out parameters. The government's supposed to do this. They're supposed to set out these parameters that say this can't happen. They're supposed to say this is how the game is played. Think about Monopoly.
So you want my
I don't want you to do anything.
gripe to be against the government and not against Jeff Bezos?
I'm starting to think that we should be, listen. No, your gripe should be with both.
Both.
But your gripe
They
should
are
definitely,
both
hold on.
equally
I don't know about that.
responsible for the
I
situation.
I would again say that the government, listen, if he's actively out there using his money, which I'm sure he is, to fucking go to Congress and change laws that make him richer and richer, then of course, that's a fucking problem. But that's how the fucking thing is set up. But what I'm saying is, yeah, it's definitely on the government to set this shit up. Like Peter Thiel didn't bring up the 50s.
Schiff.
Schiff, sorry.
Who's
what did I
Peter
call him?
Thiel?
Peter
Peter
Thiel
Thiel
is the billionaire.
Thiel.
Weinstein
Gotcha.
works
Yeah. I know
So
who he is.
Peter Schiff didn't bring up the 50s. In the U.S., the 50s had a corporate tax rate of 91%. And it was simply set up so that you couldn't be a Bezos. It was just that simple. You couldn't set up a company where you could get everything. In fact, you wouldn't even want to because you were just giving the government so much of your money. So people didn't bother building these super fucking corporations.
That's exactly the way it should be.
And that's it. And that was the strongest time in the U.S. economy. But Peter Thiel never brings that sort of thing up.
Kamar.
Thank you. Sorry, Schiff.
Why at $1 billion, like, or whatever that number is? You know what I mean? Wherever everybody decides that enough is enough. Let's call it $1 billion. Because at $1 billion, like, when you look at that as Roblox or fucking Minecraft, it'll take 1 million lifetimes to spend,
Mm-hmm.
So like Matt says, at that point, the tax just becomes so severe that nobody wants to make more than that. That seems like a really easy way to just kind of, but a capitalist won't like that because it's curbing the amount of money you can make.
We all agree, even though it sounds fucked up, that we should only be allowed to make $1 billion.
Here's my
I
problem.
think we all agree.
My problem is this. For something like vegetarianism, Joe decides to have two people on, two differing, very differing views, and he lets them argue it out, and he kind of plays moderator, and then he lets us decide. The problem that I have here is I guarantee you there's an economist as smart as Peter Schiff that could come on and, again, I'm not smart enough. I don't think Joe's smart enough, as smart as he is. There's just so many ideas that this guy put forth that I didn't have time to look up, and I felt like when he was talking about estate tax in Switzerland and how he was like, or Sweden or wherever the fuck, and he was like, as soon as they implemented an estate tax, everything went to shit, and I was like,
well, we can't prove that.
No,
We're not going to go
in
find that
Sweden,
out.
I thought he was saying that they became a very capitalistic society, and then that switched to total socialism, and then they've been fighting to get back from that ever since. I didn't know it had anything to do
but he
with
still mentioned the estate tax, and I don't know.
I was going to say,
I get what you're saying, though, to have a alternate view on.
I was going to say to your point of the 50s is when they had all those taxes, maybe that made the government too big. Because I think with Peter Schiff, what he's saying is if the government actually follows the rules of not interfering, everything will work. But that just doesn't happen. They interfere here, don't
Right.
interfere there, whatever. In a perfect world, though, I think it sounded to me like his way would work.
He gave the example of the war on drugs, which we know is true, right? Like until the government decided to wage a war on drugs, there was no fucking drug problem. You know what I mean?
They've clearly lost it, yeah.
They made that 1,000,000 times worse. What was the other example he gave? It was the war on drugs, and I have it somewhere.
See, the problem was Joe didn't push back in the appropriate. Here, let me give you a few examples, actually. Right off the bat, Joe asked him, he said, so you're in Connecticut right now. How is COVID in Puerto Rico? And he goes, Puerto Rico's beautiful. It's a beautiful place to live. The tax rate is very low. I'm in Connecticut because I love being here in the summers. It's great in the summers. It's a wonderful place to be. And since the kids don't really have to go back to school because they're going to be Zooming, we just decided to come back to Connecticut. Totally avoided answering the question, which I don't know if you noticed. That's all he did throughout this podcast.
You think he avoided every question?
Okay, how many times did Joe ask him, if it were up to you, if you have Trump's ear, if he's asking you, what do we do right now? What do you do to fix it? Can you ever think of a definitive answer that he gave?
Well, the overriding thing is get government the hell out.
Yeah.
Okay, but
And he's turned on Trump, which was interesting.
What do you think?
well, we'll get back to that in a second. But so here's one, like Joe didn't push back at all. He said to him, so you don't think anything should be regulated at all? And he said, no, pretty much nothing. So we already know that Joe's given a perfect example, construction. We know it needs to be regulated. We fucking know that because construction from time in memoriam has been fucking robbing people and cutting corners. And if you don't have fucking inspectors there, then
We've watched our own bridges fall down. Fuck.
Okay.
In Montreal. That's all from cutting corners on concrete bids and all exactly what you're talking about.
So that's with oversight, right?
I mean, that's the Quebec government
No,
oversight.
but
I get
hear me
you're
out. What I'm
saying.
saying is, so even with oversight, people are still managing to do this. So there's nothing at all in my mind that makes me think that if the government didn't step in and have some sort of regulation saying you'll go to fucking jail if you do this, there are just definitively, and Kamar, I don't like the idea of sending people to jail either, but guess what? If you build a bridge that collapses and 100 people die, 50 people die, one person
Somebody
dies.
has to be held responsible.
But maybe in another universe where they don't do that, businessmen do care and they just regulate themselves that the construction works because they don't want people dying.
I mean, listen, fuck. As I was listening to this guy, I would love to believe that. I would love to believe that these billionaires are going to say, I don't have to pay taxes anymore, and that's going to free up all this money for me to donate to all those things that I couldn't be. These guys are fucking assholes, man.
Well, they
From
can't-
the
they
start
can't all be.
to the finish. Listen, I know that's a mass generalization, but I bet you if you take all the billionaires and you put them in a room, they're all fucking assholes.
Listen,
all of them.
Someone posted and I mean, again, I get what this is, but let me just say it. Someone posted the other day an excerpt from a book, and it's all quotes of billionaires, and it's all just ruthless, cutthroat shit that they've said. And I get it. It could be taken out of context. It could be this. It could be that. But it didn't seem like any of them cared that much about anything other than getting to the top and getting money. Now, keep in mind, like I said, taken out of context, who the fuck knows? I've said some horrible things that I'm sure if you took out of context, you could make me look like an animal, which I am. The problem with Peter Schiff is these little things. Like, again, the minimum wage thing, he can't live in reality.
You don't think so, though? Because I was thinking, like you said, you don't have to do the job. And there may be jobs out there that aren't that bad that people could do for $10 an hour. And that someone could have them doing that. And then they get tips or whatever, and it compensates. But you just can't do that at all. And so there's people that just are not good enough to work for $15 an hour, and they've put themselves out.
But Joe gave a perfect example that immediately was just like, oh, where does this happen? What happens when in a small town there's one fucking guy that runs everything, and there's nothing in place that says you have to charge? Again, you can trap people
that was example that because he was saying people have a choice to work for how much ever money they want to work for. So I think that was sort of a Diablo Cato example, because in most situations, you're not going to be in a place where one person has all the businesses. It didn't sound insane to me. That's all I'm saying.
Listen, of course it doesn't sound insane because he's a smart guy and he obviously knows how to talk and he talks fast. And that's the other thing is he talks so fucking fast that there's points where you're still trying to absorb what he said, but he's on to the next thing. And you kind of are like, okay, well, yeah, that made sense, I guess. You don't really have time to break it down. Now, that doesn't make him wrong. Like, again, I understand that minimum wage is a very nuanced thing. Simon and I have gone back and forth on it before. Me having never owned a business, Simon having owned a business, we had very different opinions on it.
But listening to him, like, it makes me want to change my opinion because he's such an asshole, you know? But
I mean, like I said,
it's very nuanced.
If everything works out, he's right. No corruption, no anything, right?
Yeah, but that's
saying that the market is going to work itself out. I mean, listen, to an extent, I agree. The same way I agree that if you sit in enough hands at the casino, eventually you're going to hit a royal flush. Well, yeah, that's true. But like, unless you're going to sit there every day.
But he's saying the market will not work itself out as long as the government keeps intervening.
But even then, Kamar, we don't know. Like, think about this. There's a lot of times where, like, let's say you have a bad thing with Colgate and you're like, fuck Colgate. I'm fucking done with Colgate. I'm never using Colgate again. Crest all day. And then a year later, you find out that they're owned by the same company. But they're the only two toothpastes available because you live in a small town. And you know what I mean? Like,
what's the Seinfeld episode where Kramer hates that store? And
Peru.
Yeah. What's the name of them? Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah,
and,
it's Elaine who hates them.
Oh, and she gets Kramer to go in.
Yeah.
Right. And then they're ended up being owned by the same lady.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so, you know what I mean, Kamar? And that happens a lot in this corporate world. Now, this is the thing. I'm dumb. I can't sit here and say maybe what Peter Schiff is saying is the reason one company can own Colgate and Crest is because of these government things. I can't decipher or differentiate. I'm too.
You see,
that's it. I'm just too dumb. So I can't.
Here's the problem. And this is where I start agreeing with Peter Schiff is because how can we sit here and stand up for a government that we know, and I know the American government isn't our government, but our government is just as guilty. Look at what's going on right now with this we thing.
Well, that's getting out of control.
I know,
now.
Matt, we've had this conversation already, but like.
But okay, look what's going on there. We won't get into the details, but if you're in a position of power, do you think you might help your son out or something? That's what I was thinking. I was thinking what they did is wrong, but I
not
probably
if
do
I'm
too.
the prime minister.
Well, you're never going to be prime minister, so it's easy to say that. But you don't think so?
Okay, that's it. You just trumped me.
You're
Mark this fucking moment down. I am becoming prime minister of Canada.
I think it's a possibility for say if I was prime minister, I do everything by the book and not help anyone else. That's all I'm saying.
Let me just say this. Peter Schiff forgets to point out too that inflation is a real thing that exists. And if companies can just keep you stagnant at the same rate of pay, they will do that. We've seen that. We've seen that time and time again. Think about, like, let's just use a can of Coke as a good example. You know, if minimum wage doesn't go up, if people, and the argument, hold on, just hear me out. If his argument is, how am I supposed to pay an untrained kid $15 an hour? Like, Peter, $15 an hour now does not have the same buying power as when you were a fucking kid. Obviously, the thought of Peter Schiff as a kid making $15 an hour blows his mind because he's thinking about it. Go ahead.
But he is right about, like, look, yeah, you are going to make the minimum wage $20 and you're pricing out all of those kids because in the end, exactly what he said is going to happen. You're going to have to hire one person who is so qualified that they can do the job of two.
Simon,
and those
It's
people are
possible.
gone.
But what I want to say to you is the reason why I understood we're losing the buying power is because they keep pouring so much money into the economy, the trillions, the Federal Reserve or whatever. This is not the minimum wage, not the businesses, but money is actually losing its value because instead of governments tightening their belts and getting out of the way, they keep fucking it up. That's what he submitted.
Yeah, listen, I
I'm
agree.
not smart enough to say for sure he's right. What I want to say is the 3 points were the banks.
Just chill. I got a point, and then you can get to your rant.
That's why I wrote it down.
The three things he said were the banks.
Yeah.
Once there was tons of banks and they all had to compete for people's business, it was easier than these super banks that fuck us all over. The universities able to raise their prices because government gives student loans. So like, well, it's not really your money, so we'll charge you more.
Which is the hugest scam of all time. It's
he's
the
right.
government double dipping on both ends because they get it on the front and then they punish you on the back.
So those were 2 points. And then lastly, the minimum wage. In a perfect world, it'll never happen, but maybe it does work. And maybe there are more shitty jobs where you can pay less money, like the gas pumps, and they make their money on tips. I don't know.
Listen,
But
I'm just
he
going to
made
really
sense.
quickly go back to the 50s. You guys obviously know about FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He was the reason
He was in a wheelchair.
he was the reason they put in term limits. Because this guy would have probably just been fucking president till he died. He had 4 terms voted in. Again, would have been voted in the 5th, but they were just like, fuck, we cannot keep having this guy. They put in term limits to get him out. I forget his exact quote, but it was something along the lines of like, a company that can't pay its employees a living wage has no business being in this country whatsoever. And what he said was, what his point was like, listen, he had a big long speech and he said in his speech, we're going to pay people a living wage. And he said, I get it. Prices on things are going to go up, but it's going to make everyone's life better across the board. We're going to be the strongest country in the world. We're going to have the best middle class in the world. And they did. For the longest time, the U.S. had exactly what he said. And then again, they got rid of him. And so all I'm saying is I understand the idea of like, well, this kid right out of high school, how can I pay him? I mean, listen, servers are still paid fucking nothing. Like server minimum wage is what, fucking 50% lower than regular minimum wage, right?
I have no idea. I haven't served in a while.
Fine. But when we did, it was at least, you know what I mean? And we just rely on the public to pay them, right? Which is a weird...
Well, that is certainly not the way it should be.
It's all the social contract, though. We've all just agreed to it.
I mean, we've had this argument.
I know we have, but I'm
times.
just saying, imagine if every... Like, but it seems weird. Imagine if you went to your lawyer and it was just like, I'll just tip you.
No,
whatever
you
I feel
can't.
like.
Well,
but I get it.
Your
lawyer would be like...
You're arguing my point.
I know.
Okay, so sorry. These are the 2 things I wanted to say. One is... Like, I'm with you, Kamar. On one hand, I'm like, I refuse to fucking sit here and stand up for a government who is so inept. You know what I mean? Like, these guys are so fucking useless. And at every turn, they are trying to scam you and con you. And, like, they're never looking out for your best interest. Right? Like,
one thing he kept
why
saying
are
is
we assuming that they're going to do
government-
that when they're controlling businesses?
Government doesn't make anything. It doesn't add to the pot, or it just takes and hopefully redistributes fairly, but not always.
Well, and that's why, like, a situation like this We thing in Canada where they gave out a contract to give out money, and you're like, you fucking assholes, you don't do anything. You don't do anything. You don't make anything. And now when you have a job to do, you subcontract it out.
But what's worse about that
fuck you.
is We Charity pays volunteers,
but only like $8 an hour. And also,
He said this last week.
I did. They're super scamming.
the whole thing is to get young liberal voters.
Yes.
And that's where it becomes nefarious.
So I know you guys aren't going to like this because the name I'm going to use. Actually, I won't even use the name. Someone in the 90s implemented something in the U.S. government that said we're not going to bring in anything new to the government unless it can justify and pay for itself. So any new program that the government was going to implement in the U.S. had to prove that it was going to be able to pay for itself and turn a profit. And it did. And the U.S. government for his entire presidency didn't run a deficit.
Who don't you want to say? George Bush?
Bill Clinton.
Clinton. Well, listen, when you're backing your whole
But just-
operation
no,
with
like,
fucking
just-
drug
but
money.
But when
But
we
just-
say during their term, we all know now that it's sort of like after they leave, we find out what they did.
what they've inherited and
Hold
what
on.
they...
what
No.
they
This was,
fucked
but this
over.
was specifically a policy that Bill Clinton put in place when he became president. And I'm not defending what he does in his fucking weird personal time. I'm just saying there is a way to run government. I guess Bill Clinton proved it. There's a way where you can say we're not doing this unless it can prove that it's going to bring in somehow the same amount of money that's going out.
Sure. The problem there is, yeah, okay, I agree with you. That could fix something. But then in that same breath, you're like, yeah, but let's not talk about any of the other shit he does. You know
Well,
what
no,
I mean?
but okay.
Like that all makes a government.
Well, fine, but okay, but I'm talking about after the fact. Like we can look at now, okay, probably a pedophile, but just take that off the table and use just this simple idea, right? I'm not like Werner von Braun. Terrible example,
Put
but
him to death. Like, what are we
Fine.
talking about?
Well, no,
here?
but what I'm saying is like he got you to space,
I
closer
don't
to
even
aliens.
think we got to space anymore, Matt. Like I'm over that.
Whoa! This came out.
This guy had a moon debate with
Because
you, like fucking.
Kubrick,
Hold on, let's stay on shift for a second here, okay? Let's stay on shift. We'll get there, Simon.
no. And then the other thing I was going to say that this shift really bugs me is he's like, yeah, you know, you can't give them businesses a break. You can't help them out during COVID because this is the same as World War II. Like when we went to war and nobody was eating at your restaurant because they were too busy fighting wars. We didn't give you money to. And then he's like, you know, and I've listen, I get it. Nobody wants to like say, oh, that person owns a business. They are definitely rich. You know, everybody wants to say that. If you own a business, you're rich. Listen, most people who own businesses are struggling, right? Like it's hard.
I don't know. His example is like how he said, "I haven't lost a cent."
Okay,
Business as usual
he's
here.
a fucking idiot.
But what I'm saying is, I think there's a bunch of businesses, like he said, that took the money that didn't need to take the money.
For sure. I'm just saying, like, you have a business and you survive, especially restaurants.
Service
Like,
industry, I think
you
it could be
survive
specific.
on
Razor sharp margins.
but it's not. It's anything. Retail survives on Christmas season. So let's just
But
say
Loblaws, all the grocery stores are having blockbuster years right now.
That's totally different.
The construction yards are empty of lumber. Like certain places,
I
are
know, but none of
flourishing.
the for sure. But you know,
hold on.
do you want to live in a world where it's just Walmart and fucking Shoppers Drug Mart and Costco and we're done?
Come
you
on.
know?
I think that's a bad example only because I feel like, of course, during some sort of emergency or pandemic, certain industries are going to flourish. That's always going to happen, right? We have to.
Well, this is our first time, but we're witnessing it. Yeah.
Well, no, Spanish flu was 100 years ago. I bet if we went back in the books, there were certain industries that flourished back then. Again, I don't have that information in front of me.
Philadelphia cream cheese has been around since then.
Maybe they flourished back then.
They flourished forever.
All I'm saying, like, listen, Peter Schiff has some ideas that you can't help but be like, yeah, this is sound. My only problem is Peter Schiff is almost like communism. Everything he says looks great on paper, but I'm not certain that in actual...
No, it doesn't sound like it would work, but I think at the end of the day, politicians are actually more crooked than businessmen. And that's why his theory works. Leave it to the markets. Sure, there's going to be bad apples, but when you give these guys the money, it's worse. And I believe him. But like we're saying, there's no universe where they could actually let it play out to see if it works.
I don't know. I mean, you know what? And here's I'm glad I thought of this. He was talking about COVID, and he was like, "Well, leave it to the states." Does this guy not read the paper? When they left it up to the states, they fucked it. That's what fucked it. We know that, right? Are we all in agreement here? Do you agree at least?
I don't know. Like until the deaths start coming, Because if we're going to
Sorry, what did you
if
say?
we're not going to include all the protests
Sorry, what did you
if
say?
we're not going to include all the protests that just happened, maybe contributing to the spike, we're saying that had nothing to do with it. It's just the states mismentioned. I don't know.
Hold on, but Kamar, this is the problem. There's a lot of red is Republican, right? Yeah, there's a lot of red states that had very few protests where the numbers went fucking crazy for
Georgia
COVID. So
and whatnot.
yeah, so my point. Well, Georgia had a lot of
Well,
protests.
those are people who are hanging out at the beach. Like, I just, what's the
All gas, no
what's the
brakes.
difference? Yeah. All gas, no brakes.
All I'm saying, Kamar, is I'm not even talking about deaths. I'm just saying it seems like in the states that opened up quickly had massive spikes, and the states that didn't had lower spikes. Again, I could be wrong. I'm kind of off everything right now, so.
So I think the federal governments in general are bloated pigs, especially when you realize you have municipal government, provincial government, state government, whatever you want, and it's sort of like if they're building the roads, if they're doing the right things, if they're building hospitals, if they're doing all that, it's just it's all based on ifs.
I totally agree. It's based on ifs on this side, and it's based on if on Schiff's side,
If
which
there's
is
enough-
funny because his name has if in the middle of it, Schiff. Because he's like, let the market work it out. So maybe it will, and maybe it won't. And maybe the government does a good job with the money that they take our taxes for, and maybe they don't. Like,
well,
we're fucked.
generally they don't.
We
But
are
hold on,
fucked
like-
by both ends.
But
That's what this is.
look
You
at the-
are the middle of a spit roast.
Yeah.
Look at the U.S. They have free market in healthcare, and it's fucked. They're probably the worst country in the world for actual care of people that live there.
Do they though? Do they say they do, but there's actually subsidies or government involvement helping certain companies? I don't know. Agreed that we have socialized medicine and it seems to us better here. But I think there's only like 30 million people who are fucked because of healthcare. Most businesses have some sort of medical insurance they pay into.
But
that
30 million people, Kamar, that's 10% of your people. I mean, listen, I'm just saying that if you looked at most other developed countries, if you went to their head of state and said 10% of your people have zero health coverage, they would look at that as an atrocity, as a failure of state. Simon, you're not paying any attention.
I am. I'm listening.
What did I just say?
Failure of state.
if 10% of your people aren't taken care of.
Thanks, Kumar.
Fuck off.
Oh,
I know
sorry.
you were listening.
Sorry, I
Like,
thought
this fucking
my
guy.
Bad, my bad.
Fine. Simon's obviously done, or he's going to go on a
No,
rant.
I'm just showing Kumar exactly what's going on here.
Ah, yes. Put that on Instagram. Maybe there's a new T-shirt. I just don't think Peter Schiff sounds cockamamie. How about that? He's a blowhard, and he talked over Joe a lot, which I found almost entertaining. But I don't think he sounded like a loon. Like, this guy's crazy.
Half of what he said sounds crazy, just like half of what the government says sounds crazy.
I think the stuff that sounds crazy though isn't crazy if all things are equal, but they just aren't.
Right. So in a perfect situation where the government isn't already fucked up, but that's so easy to say. Like, what's his answer that we just have a giant fucking, like, I don't get it.
But here's
Does
my
he
thing
have
again.
a government to bring in that's going to be good?
But here's my thing. Every time, so he shat on everything we do, and Joe kept being like, okay, Peter, what would you do? And he would then just go on a wild fucking tangent.
Because does Peter have to say anarchy, Joe? Anarchy.
Well, no, but like, just let's think about this for a second before we take a break here. So if you tear down government completely, we start again tomorrow from fucking scratch. It's going to start to pile up. What I mean is, like, you're going to sit there and say, okay, no government. But then a few people are going to be like, okay, well, wait, we need, excuse me. They're going to be like, well, we need a bit of government for, like, maybe the things we just said. Like, okay, go ahead, Kumar.
I'm sure he's not saying no government. He's just saying much smaller government.
Yeah, and I agree that there should
I
be
would get
less
that.
government.
Listen, I agree too, but it seems like every time I think about that, there's some good counterpoints to why we have all the government that we have in place.
It's less. It's
The problem is this. Sorry, just real quick. I think it's that the government wastes so much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's not so much just hear me out. It's not so much the things we have in place, though. It's that there's no real oversight.
Of course, who's oversighting the government? We are supposed to do if we're doing our due diligence, but we don't do that.
It's the exact same argument as the reforming the police, which we all say, look, if the police are broken, then they need to be reformed, not abolished. And the government doesn't need to be abolished. It needs to be reformed. End of story.
The one thing they didn't talk about in this, but I was wondering about, I'm starting to fully think that foreign aid is just a scam.
Well, you won't be seeing it anymore, so don't worry about it.
But no, but you know what I mean? All these countries are sending these countries hundreds of $1 million, and how many people at the top of those countries skim it off? And then, like, if no one sent foreign aid and they just kept the money in to help our own people, would that raise everyone up? Then they can help other places, or those places that have refugees could come here and have an easier time. I don't understand foreign aid at all.
Well,
It's
even
a
then,
huge scam.
Let's be realistic for a second. North Korea has just been doing whatever the fuck for however long. There are people, we know their people are starving. No one sends aid in there. So we're real fucking picky about where we decide to send. And then think about it. How much aid do we send to countries that are in the middle of a war, but we refuse to send anything there just because there's a guy with his finger on the button? It's very odd, right?
It's super odd and sketchy. That's
Trust me, Kamar, you're absolutely right when you're skeptical, because it's a huge scam. Everything the fucking crooked ass government does is a scam.
It's a government to government scam.
And that's why, and I don't get all crazy here, because I'm not saying he's a good guy, but that's why when Donald Trump came in and was saying things like, I'm going to drain the swamp, I'm going to do this, people thought it was something different. It's
none of which materialized.
It's not. And what did he say? Like, yeah, Donald Trump drained the swamp to make more room for himself in the pond. You know what I mean? Like, but again, you literally need somebody in power who is different. And we almost had it, Maddie, because Matt and I were talking about it last night, because I was shitting on our crooked ass fucking prime minister, and he made a really good point. We have legal weed. Fucking Trudeau gets a pass on all of that shit because no other prime minister would have done that. Legal weed.
But again, like I said, the Liberal Party voted to legalize marijuana before he became prime minister. So it was a platform of the party.
But if a new prime minister had come in,
my point though was
they could have still
he
abolished
pushed
it.
that shit through fucking as soon as he got in, which was one of his platforms, one of his promises. Keep in mind, Kamar, I'm aware in the 90s, Canada came forward. It was on the floor. We were gonna legalize pot, and the U.S. and George Bush came back and said, "You guys legalize pot, and we're shutting the fucking border down. We're not trading softwood anymore." And then we pretty much had to say, okay, well, I guess we're not legalizing weed.
I'll give him, you're not the worst, but I'm not going to give him a pass.
I don't give him a pass either. I was just going to rectify that statement. But at the same time, like, come on. Not everybody would have done
What
that.
about President John Stewart, Vice President Peter Schiff?
Absolutely not. Peter Schiff can have nothing to do with this cabinet.
John Stewart wants this stuff to be done the right way, and Peter Schiff wants to stop government spending.
I'm not sure that Peter Schiff is the shining beacon that Joe makes him out to be, the one we should be watching for how we should do business. This is a guy who evades taxes.
All businessmen evade taxes.
And that shouldn't, like we were just talking about how we want government to be righteous and do the right thing, and that would include businesses doing the right thing.
But if you're legally evading taxes, is different from scamming and evading.
Again,
taxes.
like legally is such a gray fucking
then I can't do
term,
it.
you know?
But even then, Kamar, think about it like this: like if your country is actively printing all that fucking Simon, for an artist, you're fucking terrible.
No, because I did it on the fly, man. I'll do it nicely.
No. Forget it. I've lost my train of thought. It's hot. We'll take a break. Let's
Good
rate
stuff.
it first. Whoa,
Yeah, we
rate
got to
it.
say it's fucking economics at the end of the day. What the fuck do we know? But
Oh,
I started
We're
that
all
off.
giant assholes.
I don't think he sounds crazy, and I think he made some good points.
But in closing, I have one more point. I always say this: we made the economy, and Peter Schiff seems like one of those people who, I don't know. It's tough to like. It's like someone explaining Dungeons and Dragons to me. Like if someone was to sit here and just quickly like go on a wild rant about D&D.
I can explain Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, he's not as layman as Joe makes him out to be. We'll finish this off though. How much do you think he's worth?
Peter Schiff.
Peter Schiff. I thought he was a billionaire. I was really wrong.
No, he's worth like
80 million.
78 million.
70 million. According to the
Goes $2. He goes $2 million less than me. This fucking
the
guy
price right
has
every
been price writing me all
$1,
fucking day.
Bob.
Like, what
$1.
the fuck, man? It's Drew now. Simon, you're not going anywhere. We haven't rated the episode. Keep your cans on.
Okay, I can rate him without my cans.
Fine. Please rate him.
I give this episode a 3.
That's going to be tough to keep your 4.5.
I heard something there that you guys didn't hear. Is there our sense of? I don't know. I give it a 4. Even with the remote and the yelling over.
Oh, the remote was
Just saying a
horrible.
lot.
I thought Joe was going to just be like, you know what?
I found it comical.
Fuck this. I can't believe it lasted 3 hours.
I mean, I like this episode because someone like Peter Thiel, I know.
Schiff.
Sorry, Peter Schiff. I'm fucking retarded. I know when he
Can't
comes
use that
on.
word.
I know when he comes
you can.
on. I'm going to disagree with a lot, but I like that I'm going to agree with. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like.
You can think it through. It's not hate speech.
You know what my problem is when I start agreeing with him, I start getting worried because he's so like mean. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh shit, am I like just being like a fucking heartless piece of shit
It's
here?
not
you
mean.
know?
I think it's practical. Semantics.
Listen, we all agree that his take on the government is probably correct. Or I don't know if Maddie does. You and I certainly
yeah.
do. But his
I just
take
don't-
on
to say
like
it's-
human beings,
Wait, did you say it's
I
practical?
don't think is
But
correct.
you don't actually think he wants people to starve in the streets and suffer.
I'm not sure, man.
I don't
This
think he
guy
does.
is not. He's not paying his part to keep everything going.
I think he thinks if actual capitalism existed, it would help everyone out.
Why is he evading taxes if he's so fucking
Because
rich?
he can.
Kamar,
And they
as
all
a
do.
even as a rich person, I bet if you went to Peter Thiel and said, "Listen,
Schiff.
whatever, fuck," I bet if you went
But
to
I
him,
bet if you went to Teal,
him especially, I bet if you went to him and said, "We're going to tax everything 5% so that everyone can have health care," he'd be like, "Abso-fucking-lutely not." And even if you showed him on paper, we have a foolproof way of not fucking losing any
That's
money.
what I was going to say. If you showed him how the government would not fuck it up, he might agree.
I don't know, but that's where I'm lost. I'm not 100% sold that he would still be like, I'm on board.
He has no faith in the government. I have no faith in the government. Ergo, we agree.
But here's my thing.
I
Hold
also
on.
have no
Stop.
faith in the
Stop.
government.
You're both wrong. You both obviously have a little bit of faith in the government. There's a road outside. You got here using that, did you not?
But who knows if
Well, hold on.
Ottawa couldn't have done that? Just the federal government itself. At a time when World War Wars were happening, it makes a lot more sense to have a federal government for defense or whatever. But after that, like, what do they really do?
well, listen, Matt, we know from just like our conversations over the past little while about like police forces and how out of touch they are. We know that condensing government to a more municipal level and
Was
even
more
a
effective.
city level is much more effective.
Hold on. Can I
Like,
give you an example of where you might be right and wrong? Like, let's say, just look at New York City below 14th Street. It's a fucking absolute goddamn mess. It's a cobweb of fucking shitty streets that don't make any sense. And then finally what happens is city planning came in. Boom, above 14th. And that's all it took was the city said, hey, we need to make this more practical to get around. So as a city, we're going to hire someone. We're going to go out and say, who is best to do this job? Go ahead, Simon.
I was just going to say, you're giving the credit of the things that were done by probably governments that were a lot less corrupt than they are
Or
now.
and you also give an example of a municipal government. I'm not
Because who
saying get
builds
rid
the
of all
roads?
government.
Federal government builds the Trans Canada highways.
Yes.
But all the roads you're talking about in New
Fine,
York
but even
City,
then,
those are
hold
built
on.
by
The RCMP
municipal.
Okay,
is a
but hear me
fucking
out.
mess.
Hear me. I agree with that 100%. But hear me out. If you wanted to right now drive to Vancouver on a highway, a paved, safe highway, you could do so. So all I'm saying is, and just hear me out, just Diablo Avocado, you don't have zero faith in government.
No,
and
I
keep
have-
in mind,
I have some faith in
we
government.
hold on. We also live in a government city. Both my parents work for the government. You know, both my parents. They're not incompetent idiots. They're not out there actively trying to siphon tax dollars out of the pub. You know what I mean? Like my stepdad, dude. My stepdad is a shining example. This guy is. I'm not kidding. I was over there the other day. 8 a.m. He's in his office, and by the way, they live in a beautiful home. His office is smaller than any prison cell I've ever seen. He doesn't leave until 5:30 at night. The guy is going to retire in a month. He refuses to stop. And what does he do? He inspects airplanes. So he's just out there trying to make, you know what?
That's super important.
But you see what I'm saying is like,
Yeah, we're making a rash generalization. That is true.
All airlines need to be inspected. I don't care if the government does it or they
some
do it.
government is important. I'm not suggesting that there be fucking no government.
so that's all I'm
one's
saying
saying
is, but hold on, but I'm just saying is that to the layman who maybe just tuned in, it just, both of you are, I have zero faith in the government. All I'm trying to say is, I think we all have a little bit of faith in the government at least, because again, like I just finished saying, we live in a city of government. Our neighbors are government people. Sorry, go ahead.
Absolutely, but
They're
government
part of something bigger. I
has
get.
created a system as far, just take business as an example, but we can talk about racism or whatever the fuck you want. They have created systems that are,
Simon, I'm not for, listen,
they almost seem evil in intent.
Simon.
Like not even like somebody is figuring out a way around. It's like they've created a door to walk through on purpose.
Guys,
and
it's
that's what
unintended
worries
Keep
me.
in mind, we're on the same page. I'm just saying there is, as people that live in a government city, we know tons of government workers that are good people. They're not evil people.
Of course.
It's not actually bad or evil. It's just the bloated system.
I get it. Yeah.
Creates
I
waste.
get what you're saying, Matt. There were good Nazis. Not all of them were horrible. Like, I mean, maybe.
I mean, can I give one? Hold on.
He just accepted
Yeah,
that.
sure.
Like,
Yeah, I have
sure,
said that
Simon,
many
that is
times.
what
No, 'cause
I'm
I wanted
saying.
to move on. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No,
It's hot.
no, I want to end it with this: is you said the system's bloated and there's tons of waste. Look at something like McDonald's. When McDonald's had one location in California, there was very little waste because the two owners were there. They were ensuring that everything was fucking done right and done proper. And then once that fucking Ray prick came in and they started franchising out, everything became bigger and things started getting, it was tougher to manage just because of the size of it. And there was more waste. Just the bigger anything gets.
yeah, municipal government,
Maybe
like
if you
Kamar was saying.
maybe if you unregulated McDonald's and let them do whatever they want, they would have to build 10 roads around every store. Oh, whatever. Like
In order to get the
we've
people
resigned.
there.
It's not going to happen.
I don't know.
But I
don't know
think
what
I
we're
trust
talking about
business over government.
I don't think that's how that works.
No, it's a Diablo avocado example.
No, but that's what I mean. Like, so again, I'm really hot. I want to end this. But what is Peter Schiff saying? He's like, okay, fine. So everybody's on their own. There are no roads. And exactly that. McDonald's wants customers, so they have to build roads. Like, is that really how that's going to work?
It'd be a miracle.
Even then, though, let me give you an example in closing. Please, God, in closing. Right now, Amazon has this wide open funnel with China, and it's all this stuff that hasn't been fucking safety tested, that hasn't gone through any sort of rigorous at anything. And they have all these cases of kids choking, kids getting sick, this, that, and the next. And again, it's all because that stuff used to have some oversight. There used to be someone in the government that was like, oh, hey, Fisher Price, like we have to make sure that there's no and
Red paint, whatever.
But my point is just to Kamar's like, I trust business more than government, and I think that is a very dangerous statement.
Would they ever take Big Pharma? Do you think that without some sort of oversight, they would oversee themselves? There is no fucking way. They would continue to sell you bunk pills for the rest of your fucking
I think
life.
though, if
they would be selling you literal snake oil right now. They still could,
They'd be pills full of snake oil.
if Lego somehow kept selling pieces that were killing kids, Lego goes out of business.
Right.
So it's their own.
So some examples
give 'em the
work
credit.
themselves out and some don't.
We
And I
don't
just
know.
think it's a dangerous precedent to kind of
no one's got the balls. We'll never know.
Yeah, no.
I mean, hold on though. Let's keep in mind, in closing, please God, you also hate the media and you don't trust the media. And we live in a world where, let's say there was no government at all and you don't trust the media. How do we even know that Lego is killing kids? Maybe Lego kills 50 kids a day.
Maybe Lego owns all the newspapers and we never find
You
out.
can go on and on
there's big
saying
problems.
But this is what I'm
closing,
saying
go to
is-
another
okay.
example. It's never going to change.
We are going to take a break, hopefully pay some.
No, I got to give them a couple more examples.
Okay,
Of
we're
why
going to
this is not going to work.
we're going to take a break, pay some bills, and we will be right back. Name and a number.
509.
No, 1509 maybe.
Yeah, 1509. What was her name? Come here.
Leave Schreiber.
Yeah, that's it. Lieb Schreiber. Abigail Schreier.
Close. I was close.
Schreier. I don't know, man. Whatever you want. 509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. 1509. Yes, so this was all about, she wrote the book about 16-year-old girls who are transitioning to become 16-year-old boys. Take it away, Maddie.
Take it away, Maddie.
I don't, I just, like I said, I don't really
Because
want to talk about that.
she feels like they're under pressure to conform. I thought the whole time I was listening, I felt like this might be a disservice having it on Joe Rogan.
I agree.
Because I don't know if the people who could benefit from hearing it will get it, and the people hearing it will use it, will weaponize it.
Well, she will talk about it on other places other than Joe Rogan.
That might have been the most poignant thing you've said in 91 episodes.
That's what I felt. I don't know if I was wrong or right.
I'm not kidding. Did you hear what he said?
I heard what he said, but I was about to just counter it.
All right, well, counter away.
No, I was just going to say that I don't even remember what I was going to say.
You think she'll say this on other platforms?
Oh, yeah, right. So don't you think that, look, no matter who comes on Joe Rogan, there's going to be a portion of the people who weaponize it against them. Like that happens
What
every
was
time.
the last thing he said? He said, don't read the comments.
I was just about to say that.
He says that to everyone who comes on.
No. He emphatically said it to her. Like, exclamation point. Jamie, leave the mics running. Don't.
Okay. Let's just back up because you said what Kamar said was so poignant, and I don't want to take it away from him. You think this would be better off if she had never been on?
No, that's not what he said.
No,
I'm asking.
I appreciate this podcast and listen to it. I just, the whole time I'm wondering, I'm like, is this going to fall into the wrong hands? Because she was saying, of course, there's nothing wrong with trans. We're not discussing that. She's very specific in what she was talking about. Now, I don't think a lot of platforms will put her on because they already want to cancel her right away. Like she said, the pushback, even questioning this stuff, you're a Nazi. It's hateful.
We don't let you fucking vote. How are we going to let you lob off your dick?
I think it's an honest discussion, but if having it makes you a horrible person, that's wrong.
Who don't we let vote? Sorry?
People under the age of 18.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
What I'm saying is, like, if we won't let you be part of the system because you're not smart enough yet. You don't have the mental capacities yet to make those decisions.
But you are able to make major decisions that could affect you
for the rest of your life.
I think we're all on the same page here.
I think so.
That we don't think that 16-year-old anybody should be making decisions about any part of their body that can't be put back on. I'm more interested in what Kamar said in the first place, which about weaponizing this podcast.
Like he's saying, like, people on the right will be like, this woman is saying that trannies are bad and that they shouldn't.
Matt,
that's not what she's saying.
I
That's
totally
not what she's
understand what he's saying. I'm wondering. I just don't think that's true. I think that no matter what, yes, you're going to get that, and you're going to get that on any polarizing subject that comes onto Joe Rogan. I still think that the amount of good that's going to come from this is going to outweigh the weaponization on the other end.
Well, I believe that was her intent in writing the book in the first place. And it remains to be seen what's going to happen. The second thing that kept shocking me, or not shocking me, stood out to me, is how the double standard still exists. You know, if a guy fucks a bunch of girls, he's a stud. If a girl fucks a bunch of guys, she's a slut. If a girl transitions to be a guy, there's no problem there. It's only when a guy transitions to be a girl that there's a problem. Don't you think that's interesting? That the double standard holds strong?
Does it though? Like,
the issue is with guys becoming girls and beating up
this
girls.
Is
you know what it is? I think. Well, hold on.
Book was about.
Kamar, I think it's also that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they don't get dicks, do they?
Yes, they do.
How?
They
No, that's good. It's fine. Yep.
Well,
But do they really?
They do. There's a medical
They turn
procedure.
their clitoris
Yeah, no, I know.
into
I
a
just
penis.
yes. Once he started, I was like, yeah, no, now I remember.
Yes, you can put your balls into someone's asshole. Matt.
No, your own asshole.
Anything's
your
possible.
own asshole, Simon, is the key.
But the question is, you don't see the double standard that I'm speaking of?
Yes, I do, but I think that
Well, hold on. I'll still make my
both
point.
remain true. You know,
The point I was going to make is that you lob off your dick, there's probably no coming back. You turn your clit inside out, maybe there's a chance that you could pop that bad boy back inside out. This is terrible. I don't know.
No, either way, but that's my point is I don't think so sorry, what do you think this double standard is?
He's saying that he thinks it's all that women becoming men is far more acceptable than a man becoming a woman.
Sometimes I need him to say it.
That's exactly what he said.
That's exactly what I said 3 times.
Like that's word for word what he said.
Okay.
I wasn't trying to trust me.
And I was just asking, do you guys agree?
So
Now
say,
Simon's staring at me.
Say it again.
He was saying that the double standard is that it's easier for a woman to become a man than it is for a man to become a woman in our society.
And do you really believe that to be true?
Yeah, just like we much more prefer an older woman to bang a younger guy than an older guy to bang a younger girl.
Okay, I just don't know if those two things equate to each other. You know what I mean?
They're all double standards. That's what they have in common.
Okay.
And they're all around sexuality.
Okay. Let's go back to the original statement, which was it's easier for a man to transfer to.
No, that's not what I said. I said we are all right with a girl becoming a guy, doing whatever she wants in life, whereas a guy becomes a girl, then goes into boxing. We're like, whoa, 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 you got to stop doing this.
A girl becomes a guy and she can do whatever she
Okay,
wants.
well, hold on.
in
Now I
life.
think Kamar's muddying the waters. Okay, Kamar, I don't think it's that we're like okay with it, and then they just start beating up. That's a one specific thing where even I don't care. You can transition, be whatever.
Of
you can
course.
do whatever makes you
That's the
feel
bottom
best. Where I do have to draw the line is if you, and I don't care how you want to word it, if you were born a certain way, you can't just go kicking the shit out of someone that was born another way. Listen, we even have weight classes. Keep in mind, even when men fight men, there's weight classes because we agree that someone that's much bigger than someone else probably shouldn't be fighting them.
Another example would be the men are now erasing all the track records.
I mean, that's the most obscene
I am
shit
not
ever.
saying that any of this is right.
But if a girl transitioned to be a guy and started erasing all the guys' track records, we'd be like, you go.
Okay.
And that's where I think the double standard lies.
But hold on, I think it's because we still recognize that if that even that born woman pumped full of testosterone, if all of a sudden she could run faster than all the men, that's absolutely fucking incredible.
She's already at a disadvantage, we know, because men are bigger and stronger than women.
That's where the double standard comes from.
But I'm not.
Listen, the stat she gave about the woman that broke all the women's records, world records. She's won more gold medals in the Olympic than Usain Bolt. And there were 32 high school American men that ran faster than her that year. Just to give you an idea of, like, when you think about that, that's fucking insane. Think about this too. Serena Williams, apparently the dude that was like ranked 178th or whatever, crushed her in straight sets. And again, the serve that men have is staggering compared to women in tennis.
Yeah, it's like 60
extra kilometers or miles an hour.
Yeah.
It's fucking
It might
insane.
even be more than that.
But you see what I'm saying is that there's no way you can put those two side by side and
There is. Listen, I don't want to get this conflated. Like, there's an absolute
Don't
reason
get it twisted.
why there are men's and women's leagues.
oh my God.
If there wasn't, we would all just compete together and men would win all the time and women would lose. And that wouldn't be any fun. You know what I mean?
Listen,
For the women.
watch a
It wouldn't be any fun for anyone, Kumar.
watch a WNBA game and then come back and have this conversation.
But so what's your point there?
You could not put any of them in the fucking NBA.
Right.
Not a single one of them.
But they're okay. So let's just back that up a little bit. Absolutely. But they're still good athletes.
That's not what we're saying.
No, but they are still good athletes.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so let's just clarify
But
that.
if
Hold on, wait, hold on,
If
though.
a player from the WNBA went to the NBA and just started killing everything, we go, that's amazing.
Right.
If a guy goes from the NBA to the WNBA and he does amazing, we're like, well, it's just
But
a
do you
guy beating up on
understand?
girls.
No, but do you understand why that's not really a double standard? Like,
But here's a weird thing: is we don't
No,
lower
I'm
the
sticking to my
net for them.
guns.
sorry?
I'm sticking to my guns. I'm going down with the ship. It's a double standard. It just still exists. We have sexism.
And you know what? Hold on. You were like, they're still athletes. There's a news clip, and I know it's just one news clip of like one of the best WNBA players. And they're like, okay, this is a WNBA player, whatever. She's going to show us her layup. And she missed 5 layups in a row. And
Okay.
I could hit one layup out of 5.
Let's not get stuck on the merits
fine.
of the NBA. Let's get back to this double standard
No, we're
thing.
stuck on that.
You want to move? You want to
We're
move off
stuck.
it?
Well, no. I
You-
think you just don't want it to. I refuse to say, yeah, there's a double standard. And I'm not interested in like convincing you
Where's the double standard? Which double standard are we talking about now?
that it's all right for girls to transition to guys and do whatever they want.
Okay,
It's not okay for a guy
humor,
to transition to a girl and do whatever she wants.
Just humor me for a second, okay? You have a woman, all right? And then we'll stop this, okay? Because I'm not interested anymore after this. You have a woman, okay? That woman changes to become, you have a man who changes to become a woman.
Yeah.
They enter into a fighting tournament and they kick the shit out of all the other women, okay? That person has gone from being the stronger sex into the weaker sex, and they are using that to their advantage. The other way around, where the woman goes to compete in the men's sport, she's at the disadvantage already. So I just fail to see the double standard there. Like that it's not the same. Just because it's just not the same at all, man. They're going into something harder. Why? We don't care about that at all because they're already putting themselves at a disadvantage. It's the other way around that we care about. And we're all in agreement. It shouldn't happen. But you're making this like moral stance on this double standard that I don't think exists.
I don't think it's a moral stance. It's just go, no matter what we do, no matter if we have transgender or something, we are sexist. That's all I'm saying.
Well, come on.
And that's what the double standard is.
If you found out
There's no
tomorrow,
moral stance.
if you found out tomorrow that LeBron James was actually just 3 midgets in a costume, would you be more impressed or less impressed?
Are they female midgets?
Sure.
That makes a difference.
But you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't, like, I don't know.
Sorry, do you not see what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah.
Like, do you see how that's not a double standard
Oh,
anymore,
no, I
though?
will never say that.
You will never say that. But can you see
Yeah.
how that's not a double standard
course I can,
anymore?
yeah.
Like just from the logic of it? So everybody out there
Stop
can
pointing
say
at me
that
like
I'm
that.
just arguing with Kamar, but sometimes I just can't let you make a statement that's not correct.
No, you can't let me think how I want to think. Like, because you disagree with me, you're like, well, we can't have this. We can't go forth until I submit. I think it's a double standard.
Okay,
And you don't.
Okay, can you then please explain to me why the men going to compete against the women, or sorry, the women against the men is a double standard?
Because they're just supposed to be, how you're born doesn't matter, right? Gender's fluid. That's what their theory is. We are all the same.
Okay,
But that I don't agree with that.
but what does that have to?
I think girls and guys are different,
Okay, agreed.
but they're saying they aren't.
Here's what I want to know.
You're influenced to figure out your gender by society and all these things. That's what they're saying. Let the kids decide their gender.
Dude, you're conflating two different things now.
Well, it's all in the same package. She specifically was just talking about girls transitioning.
What I want to know is this. Did they not make a woman take something to lower her natural testosterone to compete? So like wasn't that not long ago? But we're willing to let a former man, I don't know how to say that. We're willing to let a former man compete against women? I mean, I think the truth is, and I agree with this more than anything, we just hate women. And that's why we allow this to go on.
It's the double standard.
Because we don't like women. That's all it is.
It's mean to women.
It's a tough thing to say.
They've stopped letting those women, compete against other women in fighting. That's not going on anymore.
Okay.
That's good. It's good for everyone. Would you guys, do you guys find her attractive? You guys only listen to it?
I only listen to it.
I didn't look at her.
I thought
Would
she
you
was hot.
fight a man that used to be a woman? Here, okay, let me ask you
Sure.
this. Let me ask you this. Would you get on a full-on fist fight with a woman right now?
If I was defending myself, I wouldn't pick a fight. with her.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to lose.
Fair enough. I love
I'm
the
doing
honesty.
that just out of like,
Perfect. Yeah. So no chivalry, just pure can't lose to a woman.
Unless she was like attacking me, my life. I'm
So there
not
we
going to
go.
put myself out there.
So what if you knew? So what if it was a man in woman's clothing? They throw the first punch.
A man in a dress punches me in the face, and I have to go back and go, oh, should I punch her? Because she's...
Yeah. I'm trying to get us canceled right now. Yeah.
No matter what, I'm defending myself.
Okay.
No matter the sex or the gender.
Fair enough. Yeah. Listen, I'm a firm believer in if a woman hits you first, You better at least tap her back. Give her a shove.
You should be
Schoolyard
you
shove.
should be able to at least put your knee on her throat. To sedate her
Yeah, of course. Low level.
for less than 8 minutes.
The views expressed on this program are solely Kamar and do not represent the JREE.
No. It truly seems like we must not like women at all because we're not. I think her whole point is just that we've never treated women well, but now we're treating women so poorly despite all the advances. We're treating them so poorly that they want to become men at a young age, like that they're just sick of it.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like. Which
You didn't
doesn't
get
make
that,
sense.
Simon?
No.
Okay.
Listen, I think that this is such a weird topic. I think a lot of these people have other underlying issues that need to be dealt with. You know what I mean?
I was also thinking
to
in a
just
way-
sum it up. So whatever. I don't know, man.
We shouldn't even really be
It's
discussing
callous.
it. This is just for transgender people to discuss. Almost.
I don't know about that.
Well, I should have no say in how it all works out.
But see, I hate that argument because then it's like being like, whoa, well, only white people can talk about racism because only white people can be racist.
No, it'd be only black people can talk about racism. Would
Would it?
be-
But you see what I'm saying is like who? I don't know.
It's not my place
No,
to tell
yeah, that doesn't make sense.
transgender or however it's going to work. It's not my place.
I mean, I thought it's not your place.
You thought what?
I thought it was interesting how they were talking about how it gets concentrated in groups of friends with the girls. Like where
Well, obviously, everyone does it. First girl sucks a dick, then all the girls suck
well,
a
I
dick.
mean,
or whatever it is.
I don't really get, this seems so much differently than just, sucking a dick.
But I think guys are all the same. Like, we all, when we're young,
If you hung out with a bunch of dudes who were like, you know what, we're cutting our dicks off, you would just do that?
no,
Like,
if I was with a bunch of dudes and two guys got Pound Peraltas, I'd get a Pound Peralta as well.
I know there's just a huge difference between getting a Power Peralta skateboard and,
Well, it
changing
seems
your gender.
not today because it's sort of not advertised, but sort of it's normalized as it should be and not stigmatized. That's for sure. But I think most of the activists aren't even transgender, which is the annoying part. Like the people, the comments she's looking for
Caitlyn Jenner is full of shit.
are people who are just sticking up for something that they actually have no skin in the game and they just want to feel good about themselves. And we're back to where we are with cancel culture.
Go on.
That was it.
No, please.
No. Only say go on if you're actually interested in what I'm saying. Instead of just going somewhere. You know how that works.
No. Good for you, Kamar. Fucking stick up for yourself, man. Fuck this guy.
But since none of us is transgender, we really should talk about this.
Whoa, how the fuck
No.
do you know? What did you just assume?
Touche. I apologize. I'm not transgender, so I don't need to talk about this. But I thought it was a very interesting podcast. I just, the whole time it was going on, I was like, I don't know if this is going out to the right people. And I felt bad for thinking that or judging or whatever.
Why are you pointing at me?
I'm not.
No, he's asking me to go on.
Gotcha. Well, it was more of a presenting to me.
No, it was a continue.
Serve
Oh.
yourself, sir.
Continue. Here's some rope. I'm not going to do it for you.
Dude,
Go ahead.
10 people listen to this show, so
Well, I think it's up to 15.
unless one of them is the Spotify president. I
Listen,
think
he has
we're
his own little fucking cult.
good. Cult of Kamar.
There's at least 6 guys in it.
You'd be
Weatherman?
surprised how many people like you. I'm surprised at how many people like you.
A lot of people like you.
I know a lot of people. He sounds like a baby.
I know, yeah. He's like, no one likes you.
It's
There was a
ridiculous.
lesbian on YouTube that said
Did
she.
he just call me a baby?
Well, no, that you're like, you have all these followers. You have all these followers too?
Yeah.
I said you had 6 followers.
Listen,
And I'm sure you have 6.
I don't
can't-
want 6. I want 0 followers.
You said
can't believe
you
this.
said it with disdain.
both of
though.
you have been.
Oh, I said it with disdain.
Hold on. Both of you have been called really hot.
Well, that's crazy.
Both people were blind. So it was a auditory thing.
But even then, I should be called the hot one still. No?
Well, now that everyone knows how much
That
you do
is
behind
like
the
the
scenes,
weirdest thing you've ever said.
Your sexuality is coming up higher.
My voice? Can I just say this?
Girls, start
the
sending
weirdest.
underwear to
Can I
Matt.
just actually say this? The weirdest comment by far to me is, you guys don't sound the way I pictured. No one ever. Have you ever knocked it out of the park and been like, you're exactly what I looked like or thought you'd look like? No. No one ever is.
I'd like that if they followed up with, this is what I thought you looked like.
That'd be
Maybe with a
nice,
drawing
yeah.
Or something.
Yeah. I thought you were a pudgy, curly haired.
Some sort of adjectives or anything yet.
Well, someone said they thought I had a hipster beard, which I thought was interesting. Couldn't grow a beard to save
What if
my
everyone
life.
thinks Matt has a man bun and a little hipster goatee?
Yeah, a little flavor
So
saver and a fucking.
disappointed.
I wear my sunglasses inside.
I think people think I was shorter.
How tall are you, Kumar?
5'10".
We're all the same height, really.
I don't know. Simon's taller than me, so
Well, he's
I'm 5'11". We measured. It happened.
that's an inch taller than me.
I don't know, man. I don't know what to
Depends
tell
on
you.
the footwear.
I don't know what to
depends on the footwear.
fucking guy. He's wearing his high heel shoes.
What weight class do you fight in, Kumar?
Right now I'm 197. So it really
Holy
blew up.
fuck, light heavy, Jesus.
What class do you fight in?
I'd be fighting Conor McGregor. I'd fight Khabib.
Why? How much do you weigh right now?
150.
I wish. And you're what, 162?
No, I'm 150 right now.
Wow, you guys are the best shape of your life.
No, I'm not in the best
No,
shape.
that's just
When I was a busboy,
I wish I was 150 pounds.
no, when I was a busboy at 21, that was definitely the best shape of my life.
I should weigh 160 pounds. Anything
you're-
under that
You're underweight.
Yeah.
You underweight? Because I'm overweight.
As a 6 foot man, I think I'm supposed to weigh like 180 pounds.
You're wrong.
I think I'm supposed to be 100.
No, if you go to the
I'm not 6 feet, so it
but
doesn't
if you go to that index, whatever it is, Joe talks about the body fat body mass index, BMI, is that it?
Well, we sound
you're-
like a bunch of girls talking about our weight
Oh,
right now.
whatever. Who gives a fuck?
Fittingly.
I'll say this: my midsection is getting just plump. It's a fucking duck.
But just back to what I was saying about it going through peer groups. She gave the example of on an anorexia ward in a hospital where people are there to get better from anorexia. They'll actually get worse from anorexia because being around so many other girls who share it becomes like
That's a tough one though,
I think
only
that's a
because
fact.
just hear me out. That's a tough one though because when I hear, smell, or watch someone puke, I instinctually puke.
that's
So
bulimia.
Oh.
Anorexia is just not eating.
Oh, okay.
I believe. I could be wrong. I'm not
no,
a
I
doctor.
think you might be right.
But
I
they're
think
very,
bulimic is the puke.
they're very impressionable, easily influenced when they see something.
But so are boys. Like that. This is where this fell apart for me, and that's why your original statement kind of didn't sit right with me, Kumar.
I think
was
it's harder for
because
girls.
I'm not denying that it may be harder. I don't think this is easy for anybody. I think
but
it's just as hard
That's
for
a cop out statement, Simon.
why.
Well,
Why?
just because look, that's like being like, well, so what? Black people have it bad. I have it bad too.
No. Don't not that part. Tell me why it's harder for girls.
I think it's harder to be a young girl for a lot of reasons. Everyone is a predator. So first of all, you have like men are horny in general, right?
Sorry, let's back up one more second.
Okay.
The transitioning. Why is it harder for a girl to transition than a boy?
I didn't think that's what we were talking about.
Oh.
I thought I thought we were just talking about being a young girl versus being a young.
Oh,
that's
no.
what I'm talking about.
Okay, so now go ahead. That's not what I was talking about,
Okay.
but go ahead.
Well, no, because I'm just saying. I think the reason we're seeing it more with women than men is just that. I think it's a lot harder to be. Again, very difficult to be a young person. Period. I was young. It sucked. It was fucking terrible. I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy. I would never go back to being a kid. Other than the less responsibility. Wouldn't go back.
I think if she did both genders in the book, then it would seem way more attacking transgender. She's trying to be very specific. It's just these girls. I can't
Simon, I think
double
it's
down on him and tell you why girls have it harder.
Well, no, but I was going to say it's probably the numbers too. She probably has cold hard numbers that say it's a bigger problem with young women, right?
She's
That's
saying
my assumption.
Scientists are nervous about talking about it. Doctors don't want to talk about it. And as a journalist, she saw this and wanted to bring it to light. I just wonder if she's going to bring on more hate or...
Clearly, you're not going to buy the book.
No, I mean, I'm just I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, okay, you're a boy and you decide that I'm in the wrong body. I belong in a girl's body, and I now I'm in junior high or whatever, high school, and I guess high school, and I need to fix this. Or if I'm a girl,
Or a couple of your friends have done it too.
in the same way, you know what I mean? I think both of those situations are just impossibly hard. You know, I get it. She's writing a book about women. I'm not, in no way am I saying one is more important than the other. She just decided to write about a book about women. I have no idea if that's because she's a lady and she did that. Like,
Fucking bitch.
No,
kidding.
again, I just think both of these things are untenable, you know? You're coming into a society that is not ready to accept you as much as everybody says that they are. You know? Like, listen.
But what do you mean not ready to accept you? Like, I don't understand what you mean by that.
Because it's pretty new still. And I think that as much as everybody says how open-minded they are, when it's your kid, I don't think you're so open-minded anymore. And when it's closer to you and you have to deal with it, look, a lot of people say a lot of things. And then when push comes to shove.
Yeah, but Simon, if tomorrow your son came to you and was like, I've been uncomfortable for the last 16 years and I would feel more comfortable this way. And I've really gave it a lot of thought. You know what I mean? And then you were like, well, maybe give it a few more years. And then maybe he gave it, maybe when he's 22, he's like, no, really, this is how I feel. Would you not just be like, fuck it? If it makes you happier.
I can't tell you what I would do because I would just be lying to you. I would tell you that.
Fair enough.
That's what I think people want to hear. I don't know, Matt. I would surely make sure that he spoke to a lot of professionals about it because, and like, look, yeah, I mean, if he tells me at 16 and then at 22, he's still strong on his convictions, yeah, okay, maybe we have something to talk about. But 16, I don't think we have anything to talk about. Like, and I don't care if that's a male to female or female to male. If it's my daughter or my son, they haven't matured enough yet to make that decision. That's fine. As a dad.
Yeah, fine. But that's what I'm saying is that's why I said, what about at 22 then? Then after the fact, they're still there.
Again, I don't know.
But I mean,
it would be a different conversation.
This is the thing though. I know you well enough that I know you'd be, I know deep down that you love your son enough that you would just be like, there's nothing I can do. I don't understand it. Maybe I don't agree with it, but it's your son and you love him.
Yeah, I would just be worried about.
I get it. Of course you would.
Being something that they don't even realize that is going on in their brain.
But guess what? Like everything, when your kid grows up, everything is that.
Dude, trust me. I know.
I know you know. You know better than I do.
I'm just saying to you, look, I can sit here and tell you I would do this, I would do that. When it's your own kid.
Yeah, of course.
I think all of that shit goes out the window and you're just, the righteousness fades away, you know? And you're left with reality. And again, boy, girl, male, female, that problem is super hard regardless.
Yeah, but I think it's harder for them than it is for you.
For sure. Fine. But it's, again.
We're not arguing. I'm not mad at you.
I think it's just as hard for either sex.
And therefore, there'd be no double standard. One of the most interesting thing in it,
it's like a long-winded joke.
Was
where
they are talking about suppressing information or stories about detransitioning.
Well, I mean, I think let's talk about this for a sec because we'll get to that. Obviously, there's a thing called gender dysphoria. And obviously, in the medical field, it was at some point, I'm not sure if it is now, please don't quote me or cancel me on this. It was obviously what's the word I'm looking for? Not an ailment, it's a disorder.
Mm-hmm. Just like ADD or anything else?
Yeah. So I don't understand so if you have transitioned, do you still have gender dysphoria? And it just never went away?
I don't even know if gender dysphoria is like a thing anymore.
That's why. Now that's just what I said. Yeah,
everything is so acceptable. Right?
But that's my question then is, so does that mean that like 15, 20 years from now being schizophrenic or a psychopath or a sociopath, these all could just be like really acceptable?
I think it depends.
We're almost at that point now.
Like, would we wear that as a badge? Like, I am a psychopath and I should be treated.
The normalization of pedophiles is everything. Like,
I don't think you can include schizophrenic and psychopath in the same breadth. One is, they're just not the same. They're not the same.
I think it's
but hold on, but I mean,
illness.
But again,
you don't want to call it mental.
But that's what I'm saying is like you don't really choose to be a psychopath. I think you're looking at it like you do.
A truly compassionate person could feel so for anyone who had something with their brain.
You don't choose to be a psychopath. That's interesting, Matt. That's an interesting concept. I think.
But isn't that it?
I think you may choose to be a psychopath.
Really? You think it's a choice?
Look.
I don't think.
We all have evil inside us.
that's totally different.
No,
but okay,
no.
Sure.
I hadn't got where I'm going.
Okay.
Yet. But we all have that seed inside us.
Sure.
I don't know. Look, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe
Well,
I'm
no,
wrong.
listen, maybe I'm wrong. I just said it because I wanted your opinion. So you think that being a psychopath is a choice?
Well, I think that
And the only reason I disagree with you is because it's a medical term. So it's something that they've.
Well, you're missing empathy, right? That's what makes you a psychopath. I think that's the definition. We've done this before.
17 times.
No, but
yeah.
I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
that's the crux of
sure,
it is that you're missing empathy. So you can still be missing empathy and not need to kill people.
But not every psychopath kills people. That's the difference.
Right,
So,
but let's just take that as an example. You know what I mean?
But the same way back to pedophiles is there's most likely pedophiles out there. Probably not.
Well, but that's an interesting question. So if you're a guy who wants to fuck kids but never ever does it,
yeah.
that's
Are you a good dude at that point?
No, but are you?
Yeah.
You're stopping.
Well, that's what I'm saying is if you know you have that in
but
you.
you're not. Forget that part for a second. You're definitely not as bad as the pedophile who acts on his urges. And no, I don't think you're a good guy because you're like stopping yourself from doing something super evil.
But that goes back to the psychopath thing.
Makes you righteous,
but hold on, but that goes back to the psychopath thing. Are you born a pedophile?
Some people are. And some people
Or is it just
aren't.
you're raped when you're young and that created the pedophile? Because we've had this discussion. That's what I'm saying. We've had this.
Some people aren't. I think the same way some people are born a girl in a guy's body, some people are born like children.
But then your argument could be sound too that maybe you're born a normal person and something happens to you at a young age and it makes you a psychopath.
Right.
You could go through some trauma that makes the empathy just fucking turn off. Right.
Right.
Maybe you get beaten within an inch of your life as a kid. Well, no, I'm asking.
No.
I'm
thinking. Sorry, I'm thinking.
Tomorrow, I'm asking you too. It's not just for Simon.
I just wanted to acknowledge that them suppressing the fact that people detransition is a bad thing. So
information should never be suppressed.
So what they're saying is certain people go through this and then change their mind. They don't want anyone to know that.
Well, they don't want people to know the suicide rate either.
The suicide rate or in that information, I just thought
they
that was interesting.
being like the activists, council.
The activists. I don't think it's trans people who are pushing back on all this stuff. It's activists.
So it's another group that's co-opted the kind of like
Black Lives Matter.
Maybe what's going on with Black Lives Matter or Antifa, maybe.
But if people are going through this, then regretting it, then changing back, I don't think they should be shunned like, I see you jumped on a fad, but we should know that exists. And I think it's a disservice to suppress it. As for being born a psychopath, I think you're born with the mental illness.
But I mean, again, now that I'm thinking about it more, I feel like something traumatic could happen to you that could breed a mental illness in you, could it not? Like schizophrenia, for example, we know isn't, I guess it's always in you, but something triggers it, right? Is that what we're saying then? Is that the argument?
For some people it does. Some people are just born fucked up to begin with.
No, of course, I get that, but that's what I'm saying then. So is the schizophrenia then maybe in all of us?
I don't even know. how did we even get here?
Because I was asking detransitioning.
I was asking you about being born a psycho. I can't remember. Whatever.
But if something traumatic happens in your lifetime, I think you have a greater opportunity through therapy or other modes of therapy. That's the only word I can think of.
It's okay. We got you.
You could fix it. Whereas if you're born, maybe they can only give you drugs to have a balance with schizophrenia.
Some kids for sure are born evil. We know this because you can.
Kyle's.
Yeah, Kyle's are always evil. No, that's
Damien's.
true. Because you can watch it, right? Like they're torturing animals when they're kids. They're beating up their siblings in really like gross ways. Like everybody beats up their siblings, but then you like see that one kid who, is like super devious about it and like gets his sibling in trouble, whatever. And then they grow and it gets worse and it gets worse and it gets worse. That happens. Mm-hmm. Conversely,
I think there's kids that grow out of that too, though.
Absolutely. And that goes to my original point. You can have twins, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Both of them are evil.
Mm-hmm.
Fun scenario. Both evil. One of them grows up to act on those evil ways. The other never acts on them, but has that same evil within him all the time and is fighting day and night to keep it at bay.
Did either of you ever see Three Identical Strangers?
I did.
On CNN? No
No,
chance.
it wasn't on CNN.
I think it
on
was.
HBO, I thought.
No, I think it was A&E or CNN. He's right. I think it was originally one of those. But
Three
yeah.
brothers split up and
Yeah.
they all had different lives. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but
I
it was,
watched it on HBO for sure.
okay, either way, it doesn't matter. The point is, the idea was that it's a little bit of nature and it's a little bit of nurture.
So that doctor
Yeah.
brought over Operation Paperclip.
Yeah.
It wasn't just NASA. They were everywhere doing thank you,
Tight
Kumar.
elbow.
No, but they were doing
Yeah.
all sorts of different sciences. It's just interesting. Yeah. But yeah, those are three guys, obviously. Well, look at I was going to bring up that other documentary about the two brothers, about the abuse there.
Foosballers. Okay.
Not foosballers. King of Kong. No, that's
I
the one
gotcha.
about
I know.
Donkey Kong.
He
Great,
just got stripped.
great documentary.
He just got stripped of everything. Billy Martin or whatever his
Good,
name
he
was.
should.
The really shitty guy there.
With the crazy
Who,
hair
did he
and
get
beard.
stripped by the guy who
Yeah,
made the
Twin
movie?
Galaxies.
No, I think
No,
Guinness.
Twin Galaxies.
Guinness stripped him. Or
No,
something.
Twin Galaxies did as well.
Who's
Oh,
Twin
they
Galaxies?
make
What are you
Twin
Twin
talking about?
Galaxies is the place in like Minnesota that is the head video game holder of all the records.
Okay.
Remember, it's in King of Kong.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
the place that has all the old school arcade. The bald guy runs it. The old dude.
Fine, but why do you keep saying that? Well, like we're talking about the guy who dethroned him.
No, he's talking about the records that the guy held.
All that was stripped.
What
of
he's
him.
saying is
His
that the
accomplishments.
guy that held all those records
Thank
in
you.
King of Kong.
Why was it stripped, Kumar?
Because he
Because
cheated.
he was cheating.
Was he cheating in the movie?
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't remember that part.
Yeah,
no,
the
because it has come out after.
No, in the movie they said-
accusations.
Yeah, in the movie they're accusing him because they're like the video that he has a weird cut in it.
Right,
and
right,
there's
right.
some.
That's when you send in your thing.
Yeah.
But he goes and he competes in the competition. He's obviously a great player.
Yeah, but the point is he had never been able to replicate the score that he had posted there.
Gotcha.
And this other dude had beaten all this guy's other scores.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. He got stripped by the association. That's why you keep
Twin
bringing it up.
Galaxies,
Twin
yes.
Galaxies. I thought he meant stripped by like another person beating him to get the title.
No.
I don't want to be this guy, but we've lost our way on Abigail, and we really have some meat and potatoes to get into.
Yeah, it's over. We're done.
Okay.
Oh, you're trying to get out of here. At
No,
a
I want to
decent
get.
hour.
I
And you're hot.
I
I get
think
it.
this
yeah.
next podcast might be 2-3 hours. This last
No, we're going to
section.
give Simon a solid hour, maybe a little bit more.
Well, exactly. So there we are.
It's all good.
Let's
man.
get to
Let's
it.
rate this last one and move on.
I mean, listen, an hour of aliens is fucking. That's great. That's
Plenty.
Yeah.
Plenty of aliens.
Kamar, we'll start with you. You can rate it first, please.
I thought it was super interesting. I just wonder if it's going to cause more problems than help. I hope it helps. I give it a 4.
Simo.
I give it a 3.5.
I give it a 4. Good length. Nice girth.
Her intent was right. It wasn't like a trans hater. And Joe kept saying, this is going to get us in trouble. Da, 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 da. We'll see how it goes.
I mean, yeah, kudos to Joe. Like, he had to know going in this is just the kind of thing that gets him in fucking trouble. It's also the kind of thing that makes him $50,000 an episode. So, a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Well, I guess to Kamar's point, he must figure there's just probably more people who are going to use it than not, right? Who are going to watch it than not watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's for the bad reasons.
But I'd hope.
Does Joe care as long as he gets his viewers?
I don't know.
Nope.
If you got a,
I think he
If
does.
you got a bunch of letters about people who killed themselves, he might feel
Yeah,
bad. or
I
something.
think that, but I don't think that's
He's
gonna
worried
happen.
about moving to Texas right now.
Yeah, no, I just don't think it's going to happen like that.
No, me neither.
Yeah.
Even then, I don't think he would. I bet if Joe got 100 letters from people that were like, my son killed himself after listening to that episode, he would go back and listen to it and go, there's no point in this episode where I am trans hating, where I'm being a bigot, where I'm saying I don't.
No, he didn't.
I bet that if Joe got one letter from one parent who said their kid killed themselves, he would rethink doing whatever. You know what I mean?
I don't.
I don't think he gets those letters very often.
Well, first of all, that's why he constantly says now every episode, I don't read the comments. I don't read that shit. I don't read that shit.
Nor
I
should
don't
you.
read that shit.
I think there's a huge difference between a comment left on Instagram and like some parent writing you some like fucking letter that somehow gets through, you know?
Simon, you should not read anything on the internet. You don't take it very well.
No, I don't read anything on the internet.
All right, let's move on to Simon's big, fat, wet fucking dream.
1510, George Knapp, and Jeremy Corbell.
Strap in.
Do you think that's right when I said this is long overdue?
An episode like this.
He should have George Knapp soon after Bob Lazar.
I wonder if maybe George Knapp didn't want to come on until now.
Well, there's some reason.
Don't know.
The overriding thing, though, is Jeremy Corbell. I think I bagged on him the last appearance he's had. Maybe found him insufferable. Got some coaching, looked in the mirror, whatever. Really came in at a bearable presence this episode.
Like I said, I actually watched this one on YouTube. One of the top comments was R.I.P. Jeremy in the comment section.
I thought he did really well. I thought Joe tried to throw him under the bus a couple of times with some comments about how he only wants to make movies and shit. And I thought he was really good. I thought he handled it really well. I thought he did a great job.
I think there's a few, for me at least, there's a few too many times where he's just excited and he's like, tell him about this, go, tell him about that. And it's just like, dude, it'll get there. Joe's good. That's why Joe's here.
I think more what was happening there. I see what you're saying, but I think because I remember the times where it happened, and I think it was because he was about to tell a story that clearly George Knapp should be telling because it's his episode.
I understand.
So he was doing the right thing, to Kamar's point. I think he really learned from the last time. I think he took, and to your point, Matt, I think he took so much shit on the boards last time that, the
great interaction, though, was Joe, I think if, say we find out there's aliens, it's all out there on the table, I think I'd just be like, okay, cool. And be done with it. It's like, no, you wouldn't. You'd be freaking out. He's still trying to create his new narrative of a calm, just a peripheral alien enthusiast.
Dude, he'd have 10 movies out that year.
It was cool to hear Knapp give his version of Bob Lazar. It's just cool to hear it from another point of view. He was actually part of that story.
That's why this needed to be sued after Bob Lazar, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with Kamar. I think just because, again, it wasn't so fresh to me, and I'm not you who's balls deep into this.
Balls in the asshole deep.
Fuck. Way to wrap it up, Kamar. I like that.
But I like how you said there was no, and if this had been a podcast with a whole bunch of new stuff, I'd be like, oh my God. But no, this is more, if you don't know anything, getting everyone up to speed. And George Knapp seems really credible and cool. He sort of looks like Jimmy Page, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Or who was the dude from, what was that movie, Network?
I think he also looks like George Lucas.
Is no one going to help me here? Does no one remember the movie Network? Remember there's two great fucking...
I can only think of William Hurt.
It has one of the best monologues in it ever.
Yep.
So...
Is it Network?
They were talking about when Bob Lazar worked at MIT, and they were having a hard time procuring the documentation for that and blah, blah, blah. And Joe made such an interesting comment where he said, I can't say this. I don't think I can say this because I'm sure that it broke international law.
Peter Finch. Sorry, it was Network.
Yeah.
Finch.
More like Jimmy Page.
Yeah.
Oh, go fuck both of you.
So he was building a weapon when he worked at MIT. If you're reading between the lines there.
Mm-hmm. Well, he built Jeremy a weapon.
And what's his name confirmed it, Naff, because he said, I think I totally agree with what you just said.
Without saying it.
Meaning that they had both got the same information.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember when Joe said the last time there was something that he was told by Lazar that he couldn't say? I wonder if that's what he was talking about.
And does Andrew Schulz know what that is as well?
No, I don't think so.
Has kept it to himself?
I think that was only told to Joe.
Because we didn't know he went to that dinner till now, right?
I think
No, he did.
Yeah.
Imagine your Schulz, though, and Joe Rogan's like, hey, do you want to come to this dinner with me? I kind of want to vet this guy and just get your feel for it. And then halfway through, you're like, dude, I don't want fucking confidential government.
Classified
Yeah, what the
information.
fuck is... Thanks, Joe.
That's
My
hilarious.
death warrant.
Yeah. Oh, the steak is on you. Wow, that's...
Every second day, Schultz is being visited by the men in black.
Just constantly looking over his shoulder.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right though, Kamar. He built him a laser pointer, like a real laser pointer, and a flamethrower that he won't talk about.
There's a lot of not talking about, but it's just not being there made me rethink all my skepticism of Bob Lazar. Whereas Jeremy made me skeptical of the whole thing.
Hold on, though. Let me, again, this is, so I just have to say this. I have to say this. Because at this point, it's obscene. We talk about it on this show. They tiptoed around this whole fucking space pimp thing. And let's be real, the fact that he ran a whorehouse, it almost got mentioned for a split second when he was like, someone accused him of trying to solicit a young girl to work at a brothel.
Yeah, that's different though.
Okay, but you know what I mean? Like, again, they kind of, it never really...
Well, do you know why it doesn't matter, Matt? I hear you. They should talk about it because it's funny.
No, they should talk about it because...
It doesn't matter because it has nothing to do with, well, he worked at Area 51. It happened after the fact. After he had been... Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I want to know how Bob Lazar ended up going from making rocket cars in his garage, working at MIT, and then on to fucking S65 secret.
Can I just play something out for you? Maybe.
Sure.
This may be it. I'm not sure. But we always wondered why Bob Lazar was still alive, right? Like, he's giving away all this info and they're letting him live. Maybe it was just like enough. They like discredited this guy. He could not be hired anywhere else. I assume that he, and again, I don't want to give Bob any undue credit here, but I just assume that he went to work for the whorehouse because he had run out of other ways to make money. Meaning, like, the government was making it untenable for him to try and find a job in his given field because they were discrediting him as this fucking loony who was seeing UFOs.
This is the thing. If my old man comes to me and is like, I'm running a brothel, I'm like, okay, this is about par for the course. This guy's a fucking MIT. Like, I get it. You're like, they're discrediting him left, right, and center. He couldn't get a job at a hardware store or something more in his field. Like, I don't know. It just seems, at least mention it so that I can. Here's what it is, Simon. If they mention it, there's no conspiracy for me. There's nothing to talk about if it's at least mentioned. But the fact that they're not bringing it up stinks a little bit to me. That's all.
I mean, it stinks. It stinks as far as like...
You're the conspiracy guy.
No, I know, but what's the conspiracy there? What do you think is going on that changes anything to do with the story? Like,
Well,
I think it's
that
hilarious.
no, because I also think it's that maybe Bob Lazar isn't such a great dude.
But nobody's saying he's a great dude.
These dudes are.
No. But do you have to be a great guy to believe that he worked at Area 51?
Credibility.
That's it. Is like, for me, it's more the credibility and like, Bob Lazar's a good guy who doesn't lie. He wouldn't lie about this, and it's like, well, I mean, I'm not saying that just because you run a whorehouse, you'd lie. Maybe I'm sure there's salt of the earth whorehouse runners out there.
You know as well as I do that, like, just like drugs should be legal, prostitution should be legal.
100%.
So then, what are we doing here?
Stop. I also know, like you, that when drugs were illegal, it wasn't exactly an industry filled with shining stars, right? You can agree with me there?
I can.
Okay, so there we're back to square
one. Well, that
one.
doesn't make you right about fucking Bob Lazar. That makes you right about fucking pimps and whores.
Listen, I love whores, so.
I forgot. Sorry, did you want to keep going on that?
Oh, my love for whores? We can.
I will consent to,
I don't want to get caught up on that. I just want to talk about aliens.
Perfect.
Go ahead. Keep talking about aliens.
So,
that was it.
So Bob Lazar mentioned during his movie, and I kind of forgot about this, that they had given him green liquid and hypnotized him. What does that sound like to you?
Drugging and hypnotizing?
Yeah, like what they did to Manson, what they did to... That was what they did back then. And this is like the tail end of it, you know? Listen, if you want to take the stance of he believes what he's saying, but maybe they were running a giant psyop on him, I mean, that would make sense.
Yeah.
See, because I believe Bob Lazar believes. After that, I don't fucking know. And that's not discounting the fact that aliens and UFOs exist. That's just saying, look, this would have been a really convenient way for the government to get whatever information they wanted out in their own way. And
have you heard the theories about the meteors hitting the Earth are actually the ships that brought us here?
Like this one that's coming here right now?
No, like the meteors that killed the dinosaurs.
I heard that theory,
Okay,
yeah.
right on. I liked Knapp's because he had a more of a morbid view because he's believing aliens. Knapp is not like, I'm still skeptical, but he's talking about dimensions and they're already here. They're already doing stuff to us. And there's a problem with our perception of reality. What we can see, what we can sense, what's going on. And if that's the truth, then that's a lot. They're here, and they're doing the worst they can to us.
Do you honestly, right now, do you believe in aliens?
Of course.
You don't think they're here?
I don't know if we would know if they were here. They could be here.
It's not what I...
No, or we could be them. That's more in the meteor. We are the aliens.
Here's a fun thought process for you, or thought experiment.
You didn't answer my question.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go. Do your thought experiment.
No, I was just going to say, like, so Kamara was talking about how maybe the meteors that hit Earth carried us, right? And then I was thinking about, like, okay, well, what does that mean? Because I obviously just weren't carrying Adam and Eve. And then I thought about, like, what would you do if you were a super advanced society? I guess you would just send a ship out with whatever germ you knew could, like,
some sort of spore, DNA.
Precisely.
Whatever.
Something like perfect, a mushroom. Something that could survive space if need be, but that also, could survive any climate for an amount of time that once the climate became appropriate for life, it would kind of spawn life. So I thought about that thing that we sent out ages ago, that Carl Sagan sent out.
The plate.
Precisely. And I thought to myself, maybe, like just maybe, without knowing it, before we sent that thing up, someone coughed on it. You know what I mean? And maybe they coughed on it and just some microbe stayed alive. And maybe that thing hits a planet in 100 years, 50 years from now, whatever. And in hitting that planet, it creates, a million years from now, it creates a society. Not a society, a civilization. Like through just that small intervention. And that maybe, I don't know.
And
I'm just having fun with your fucking
That would
alien
explain why the apes are still here and we're here and they haven't changed. We are the aliens.
But your theory about the asteroid, like...
it's not an asteroid, it was ships.
Yeah, but it eliminated the dinosaurs. So it hit the planet.
Yeah.
Or are you saying that they came down and killed everything, like with their...
No, I think the impact. The other thing is, and they talked about a bit, the Ice Age. Because no one knows, like there was 10 miles of ice where we're sitting right now, straight up on the whole planet.
Yeah.
So when that happened, right?
Well, the Ice Age was caused, like let's say the asteroid hits, right? The asteroid hits.
Dust goes up in the sky.
Everything, yeah, there's fire, but then the dust rises up, the smoke rises up, it blocks the sun, and then you go into the Ice Age.
For 10,000 years.
Whatever, yeah.
And then they recede, and there's floods. And
right, exactly.
What we don't know makes everything possible. Mm-hmm. Like if we knew that the whole planet was covered in ice and that no life could survive till these meteors hit it and broke up the ice. I find that sexy that we are the aliens. And yes, they're here. But if there's aliens in another dimension that are here, that's even spookier. Because George is convinced they want to kill us. And we are agriculture to them.
I truly believe that they're here. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't get why we would assume that the aliens exist. They're like, we're seeing their UFOs, but they're not among us. You know what I mean? That just seems silly to me. If they have the cloaking technology in their ships, then I'm sure they have it to be here without us knowing, or to be looking
And
like us. Or
the planet is so big, there's lots of places they could touch down and no one would ever see.
well, exactly. It's the whole Bigfoot argument.
Well, have you heard that Bigfoot's an alien?
Yes, I mean there's a whole documentary
Is
about
that the
it.
triple
On,
whammy there?
There's also a group of people who think Bigfoot works with portals, like your dimension idea, and it's
And by group, I mean me.
riffing through time, you know?
Well, so that's the key. Whether it's time travel or bending time, because if you fly someplace remember he said there's a 75% chance that there are aliens 13 million light years away, or if it's 2 light years away.
Yeah.
To travel that distance, everything you know back home is now gone.
Forget flying.
1,000 years has passed. You know what I mean? It's
1,000 years. Are you
Forget
kidding me?
flying, though. You're so on the right track with this instantaneous jump, and be that through a portal or a rip or a rift or by bending time. Like, look, if they're using 0 point gravity, there's no anything is possible. Like, even the physicists say it, you know?
Yeah, I know. No, this podcast
Can I tell you what my problem is? Go ahead, Kamar. Sorry.
re-energized my excitement about aliens and whatnot. And when they threw, because Annie Jacobson threw George Knapp under the bus when she was on, and he got his chance to retort. Was everything had come? This just took too long.
That was cool. Go ahead, Matt.
What would I? Oh, I forgot what I was going to say.
Your take?
No, I forget.
So I thought think about what you were going to say,
Sure,
Matty. They were talking about Lazar and Fravor in conversation, like just no cameras, no nothing, just these two guys talking. I thought, that would be fucking cool. Here's one guy who's saying, I reverse engineered an alien ship so I know how it works. And here's this other guy who's seen it in the field, like.
Wow. Seen something. He doesn't know he saw that ship. I'm getting caught up on details.
What he saw, the idea of it being here and then here instantaneously, is what Bob Lazar was talking about. A no gravity, anti-gravity. You're using this different way of thinking. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. To me, that's kind of cool. Fuck.
Everything is kind of cool in that it's Jeremy wasn't overpowering the conversation, and Knapp was able to unfold. He just seemed way more measured, and he's not super rich.
No, he's a fucking journalist.
But if he was super rich and had made all this money off it, because that's the one thing that Jeremy gives to, or Joe maybe gives to Bob Lazar as having credibility, is that he hasn't tried to monetize this. But then there's Jeremy who is trying to monetize it, so you lose me there. But he's just a kid in a candy store.
I mean, Sam Tripoli says it all the time. Like, look, you can be righteous and you can be doing a job because you believe in it. But if you're an adult and you're not trying to make money, you're a fucking idiot. You know what I mean? Like,
Agreed.
If nobody's doing this for free. Like, you can still be righteous and still like be doing your job for the right reason and still want to be able to pay your bills. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Like, I don't take that away from Jeremy Corbell. This still takes like
No, just Jeremy being him takes away from Jeremy Corbell. But I am in this. Like, bring it on.
Yeah.
And Tom DeLonge is just hold my beer, rub my feet, living on that.
They gave Joe a chance in this episode to look. I don't need him to go back on Tom DeLonge. That was a weird interview.
He has to
I
have him
heard
back.
it, but he has to like at some point say,
I think he has. I think he said
this guy.
I don't think he does though. Listen,
I think he said Tom DeLonge was right all along.
You just said it too. It was a fucking weird interview at the time. What the fuck was Joe supposed to do other than be like, you're the Blink-182
but he
drummer.
says
This
it
isn't
about Alex Jones all the time. Like he was right. I have to say it. He said all these crazy things about the frogs being gay, and he was right. You know what I mean?
I think he has not given a full...
That's not what Alex Jones was right about, by the way.
Fine. I was
Okay.
it was a joke, but I'm saying...
I think he said Tom DeLonge isn't so crazy after all.
Joe said that?
I think he has said that in an episode. When this most recent, like they talked about this a lot, the New York Times, they were going to release information, but they said, no, let the New York Times release it because that'll be more credible, Washington Post. And just like I said, I didn't feel that moved the needle. And that's where my frustration...
That's because people like you don't believe anything that major publications release anyway. You might have been more likely to believe it might have moved the needle more if it was not from them.
Well, it doesn't matter if it moves the needle for me. I just in the zeitgeist or in social consciousness, like I think people are still too burdened down by their issues to get excited or interested in alien stuff.
I think the real problem is that you can show us that video. You can admit, like the government coming out and admitting, hey, we don't know what this is really, could be an alien. Even if you've seen the video 2 years before, like it doesn't change anything. That's my point. It's not like they're saying this is an alien and we believe they're from, or they want, or we've contacted. There's nothing new. That's why it doesn't really move the needle in my opinion.
But anybody who understands what they're looking at, it should move the needle big time. The problem is nobody gets what they're watching.
That's what I thought.
Simon, so why do you want it to move the needle so bad? What to you?
I don't want it to move the needle. It just should move the needle.
But why?
Because we've always been unsure as to whether or not there are UFOs out there. And now we're finding out for certain that there are. They've been caught on
the
satellite.
General public is, they're saying everyone, the Chinese, the Russian, they all know. They've known.
The general public
Is just finding out about it.
is just finding out about it.
And
That's what we're talking about.
and the needle didn't move. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it
it's
doesn't matter to
crazy.
me. And that's frustrating. And I'm like, there's nothing people could find out about unless it was flat Earth that would make people go, whoa, it's not, everything isn't what we think it is.
First of all, it's plausible deniability. So you, Simon, are like, this is definitively 100% an alien.
It is 100% an unidentified flying object that the U.S. government does not know what it is and has to consider a threat.
Okay.
That's what it is. I mean, they're pretty fucking certain that it's not another nation. But, I mean, I don't know that 100%. I can't prove that to you.
All I'm saying is we have enough to be worried about with our fellow man. I'm not really that worried about aliens, to be completely honest with you.
Unless they hold the solution to help our fellow man.
I don't think they'd help. Why would they?
Well, Knapp doesn't think he'd help.
You know who is
He thinks
worried
they're gonna
about
kill us and
aliens?
harvest.
Elon Musk.
No, obviously.
Well, he is an alien.
Donald Trump because of Space Force. Like, you think they're doing that out of righteousness?
More so than Donald Trump, though. The person I want to hear from was it Harry Reid? That's the name they kept using. There's a senator that is in charge of this program. I think it was Harry Reid.
In charge of what program, Kumar?
The aliens.
That's the name of the program. The aliens.
The aliens. The UFO. All this stuff you speak of is Henry Reid. Harry Reid? Oh, man. I wish you'd wrote that down.
Harry Reid.
Peter Thiel.
There's a senator that's super involved in this that asked them not to release stuff till it was released in the New York Times.
Okay.
If you're listening, you know who I'm talking about. I think he's a Republican.
I'll put it to you this way. I am, I'm like Joe. Sure, I'm almost certain, 99.9% that there's got to be something else living out there. There has to be. It's too much vastness for there not to be. Too much time. Too many places. I just couldn't wrap my head around there not being. The only thing I care about is, are they here with us now, and how long have they been, and are they running the show?
And are they peaceful or are they not peaceful? Like, that's Knapp's question.
If they're here now, I think they're peaceful. Unless they're harvested, like they're getting ready to eat us.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, look, is it so far-fetched to give some credo to Zachariah Sitchin's ideas? Like, I know it seems crazy, but like, what if like those tablets are right and, you know, the Anunnaki really created us to do work for them, and somewhere in history we revolted because we're the smartest of the monkeys, you know what I mean? And that's why there's such a tremendous jump in our brain size in those years, is because we were aided along. And like Joe said, maybe it was a situation where they knew we were going to get there eventually and they just sped up the process, you know?
I think if you told people that and had evidence, they still wouldn't care. And that's what we're up against.
Holy shit. Well, that changes it. You know who would care is the church.
Well,
Because they'd have to rewrite all
I'm sure
their
the
shit.
church does not like Knapp or
They are-
Jeremy Corbell.
The church is already embracing aliens. They need to work that into their...
Well, it's part of God's plan.
Exactly. They have to work that in. And the fact that... Here's my problem. The fact that the church right now is like talking about aliens, and every day there's a new alien something, you know, in the news somewhere. Like, they're getting you ready for something. No, I'm telling you.
No.
I'm telling you. And that something is either they're going to pretend that aliens are coming, or they're going to tell you that they've been here the whole time.
Simon on his deathbed.
It's going to happen tomorrow. You can yuck it up there, fun boy, but when it happens...
I said at the beginning of this podcast, there's a weird thing, a human nature to think that everything's going to happen in our lifetime. That's all.
Let me ask you this: given what
You're just playing it.
given what we know now, do you think that a good portion of the people that have woken up with like no recollection, feeling like they've lost time, maybe been probed, could it be Bill Cosby? The timeline works out. Given the numbers, I mean, he was on a tear back then.
Cosby's an alien, though.
No, he's a rapist.
He's saying there are no
Still in
alien
my world.
abductions. Those
It was
are
just
all
Bill Cosby at work.
Cosby. I'm not sure I can agree with
Just off the beat path, but kind of cool, meant something to me. They talked a lot about cattle or whatever, bovine being stripped of their flesh.
Yeah.
You know the first episode of South Park is? Well, there's a pilot, then there's the first episode, and it's Cartman being abducted
By alien with
anal
they put a probe in his
and
ass.
They get a bunch of cows stripped of their, and that's 23 years ago.
Well, that's how they
23 years ago.
discredit
Holy
this
fuck,
whole
I'm
thing
old.
is by, you know, poking fun at it.
But I imagine the South Park guys probably believe in aliens. And we're putting that in. This is their first episode besides the pilot. Like, it's pretty huge. You know what I mean? We don't know what we're going to do. Let's go balls out and tell people there's aliens. This is their way of doing it.
Interesting.
I'll never forget that the first episode was on at 9 p.m. And the next week it was on at 10 p.m. And then the week after that it was on at 11.
Too hot
I'll
for
never
TV.
fucking forget that. Yeah. Because I remember watching the first episode and being like, this is incredible. What is this?
They so they talked about Skinwalker Ranch, and my understanding of Skinwalker Ranch is that this is like a place where it's like a hotbed of
Alien activity.
all sorts of different activity. Like,
Through different ownership.
He also mentioned, though, Native
It's
American
all-
folklore.
well, that's where the whole Skinwalker comes in, because they supposedly have been seeing these Skinwalkers for a long time.
Just thought I'd give them their dues.
Joe was unwilling to listen to it.
Well, just because, again, in Joe's defense, he was like, I'll listen to the stuff you're willing to talk about as far as the evidence you have. But he's like, everything you're saying about this is pure hearsay.
Anecdotal.
That's it. And I'll give Joe that. Like, it really was.
They they found out just recently, and this is the part that Corbell should have been harping on, is that the government had been funding Bigelow to do this research at this place for like 10 years plus. They were very interested in it. You know what I'm saying? This wasn't just a bunch of hoopla, and I don't know why they couldn't provide some sort of evidence, because they have video of these orbs. So I'm not sure what was going on there, if they were just like on the spot and couldn't react quick enough. They made a fucking movie about this place.
I mean, listen,
Like, it's not like Joe is an investigative reporter who made them crack under pressure. you know?
But I think the goal of this podcast, like we said, was not to introduce new stuff to speculate or a conspiracy-minded person would say. It was to say Bob Lazar is more legit than not.
Right.
That was the whole point of this. Like they circled around different things, but the whole thing was Corbo was like, look, is his name George Knapp? I keep saying Knapp because I forget his first name.
I think it's not.
George, he called him his mentor. So Jeremy was like, see, I'm not the only crazy person here. George is even keeled. George isn't rich. George seems credible.
the weird thing to me is Jeremy's presence. And it's simply, he seems like the lawyer.
No, but it seems like when the camera's on George Knapp, Jeremy's just going to put his face in the frame every time, even though he doesn't have to.
No, but do you know what I mean? Like when one lawyer is representing three criminals, and he's always like, "I'll handle this one." Well, hold on.
I think it's boyish excitement. I appreciate that he let his hair grow in, but I'm sure it's just because of COVID. He came in measured and was not detrimental to this podcast, as he may have been to me in past podcasts.
I agree. He was better. I still don't understand his need to be there, regardless of how intrusive or unintrusive he was. This guy's an adult.
I wonder if it's Joe's last time having him.
Well, why do people need a handler? We've done this a million times. Like, he can be in the green room.
So did you?
Yes. At the end of the day, this is a better podcast without Jeremy.
100%.
But it wasn't bad because Jeremy came in.
I agree. I can agree with that
behaving.
statement.
But I just wanted George now.
Mm-hmm. But we got Jeremy.
We got the best Jeremy we've ever gotten to.
All right. Yeah.
Well, it's like Kamara's fans. They can't have him without the two of us. So sometimes you got to do what you...
It's a real shame.
And all of George's ideas were pretty dark and depressing.
I mean, he looks like he smokes fucking 2.5 packs a day.
On this looking for aliens for 30 years.
So the funding for Skinwalker Ranch was pulled by the government because it was a religious, I guess it was a Republican government at the time, and they thought it was something to do with demonic or devil possession, that these portals or whatever was happening there.
That's the easiest way to discredit someone.
But it is, there's a lot of talk about like good and evil and these aliens being like some sort of, I don't know, like a demonic thing. Like if they're not, and then it makes you wonder, like when you go back and look at the religious writings in the Bible and they're talking about evil gods and like, I'm telling you, put it all under that different guise, the eyes of aliens instead of, or maybe aliens is the wrong word, because maybe it has nothing to, look, if you believe in the flat earth, Kamar, they're all coming from underneath.
You're trying to convince me of something.
No, I'm not.
Well, that's what it feels like the way you're talking to me.
I think that, I mean, I've said this all along. I think this goes right back to when we started here on the planet.
But you definitely think we started on this planet. We did not come from another planet in the many generations.
That's possible. I could live with the whole, this is us from the future. I don't hate that. But the part of that I don't really get is, oh no, I guess that makes sense too. Like, especially us stopping the nuclear power plants and things like that, because we know what happened already, right?
We do.
But then why not actually stop them?
Yeah, I mean, that is, because maybe it's like the Back to the Future thing, the second you touch something, you fuck it all up. So maybe they got to do it. Like they can buzz around.
So the second they went to turn off the nuclear reactor, one of their hands started to disappear. And they were like, turn it back on.
Exactly.
John's disappearing.
Yeah.
Do you think
Marty?
Do you think there's a reason why we've accepted what an alien would look like?
Well, I mean, I think Joe makes a pretty solid, you know where the first alien comes from?
The first drawing of an alien?
Yeah.
Coca-Cola.
No, this is why I'm here.
It comes from Aleister Crowley. I believe,
Aleister Crowley.
who is the Satan guy there. And he had a vision, and he said he was visited by these demonic creatures, and they looked like the gray aliens.
And because of that, the Greys has just been what we all accept. Like there hasn't been another. You know what I mean?
Well, when Barney and Betty Hill described the aliens they saw, I believe they were the Greys. That was like the first recognized abduction story.
And the theory is there's so little resistance, their body withers and their heads get bigger.
I don't know that to be a fact. Listen,
Well, no, that's what Joe said in this.
yeah, that's what Joe said. I personally believe there are many different races of aliens.
Like dragonflies.
Like,
Don't dragonflies look like aliens?
I guess.
I was thinking more like the same way there are, you know, like the different creatures in Lord of the Rings. You know what I mean? There are many different aliens is a term to describe things that aren't from this place. And there are many different races out there.
Yeah, if we go dreamy boom boom, I like to think about like Star Trek or
Why dreamy boom boom?
Star Trek or Star Wars. Those are what aliens look like.
Yeah, but why dreamy boom boom?
Because that's what we're doing here. We have no facts on what aliens look like.
But why couldn't they look like this? Is the thing to me. Why couldn't they look like what kind of? I think this is what Kamar's trying to get at. Why couldn't they just look like a plethora of other things if they're coming from all over in the galaxy? Like
Star Trek is the best. A Romulan, a Klingon.
Things evolve to look the way they are based on their surroundings. You know what I mean? Whether you have a tail, a big nose, a fucking huge ears, whatever the fuck it is.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay, fair enough.
And that's
there are
dreamy
different
boom boom.
races because they come from different parts of the galaxy or whatever.
And we're just imagining and making stuff up right now. You know what I mean? And I'm all for it. And I'm not.
No, but I mean just as much as a gray alien. Like it's just because people say they've seen that. People say they've seen the big, tall, Nordic-looking aliens.
Well, no,
they say they've seen the reptilian aliens. They've seen
the easiest would be some sort of spore, right?
or a gas.
Or a gas, exactly. When you start to go what it would look like, does it even breathe air or anything? It's all just crazy speculation.
I think that Star Trek to your
But gas probably don't need ships.
well, they probably still do. You probably can't just travel through space very quickly if you're a gas.
I imagine gas could travel like how rats get all the information. The second the gas touches a particle, it's all particles. We're dreamy boo boo.
Maybe, yeah,
here, man.
maybe,
Go for
maybe,
it. Throw
for
it
sure.
up there.
For sure. Okay.
Simon, maybe anyone who's ever gotten or died of cancer was close to an alien ship.
Maybe. For sure. I don't know, man.
Well, according to these two guys, people that have been near these ships go through quite an ordeal.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do more research into the puck with the Element 51?
Element. You mean?
Sorry, Area 51. It's Element 151 or whatever it was. Remember they talking about it was in some crazy container?
Oh, no. I didn't.
You didn't hear that part of the podcast?
No, I did. I didn't do any extra research on that puck.
Because that's Bob Lazar's big thing, or Joe harps on it, that he predicted this element, and now we have this element.
Well, that is a huge deal. He said, he was doing dreamy boom boom, and it turned out to be totally true. Just like his stupid fucking machine that measured his hand. They ended up finding that machine.
Okay, but Einstein also said a bunch of shit in like the 30s that seemed fucking insane and ludicrous, and he was like, I just guessed it all using math, and he was bang on.
Yeah, totally. But there's a difference between that and Bob Lazar saying, I was at Area 51. There was this machine that measured whatever the fuck bones in your hand. No, Bob, that never existed. Nobody believes you. And then they find the machine. I mean, that's got to go to benefit Bob's story.
Yeah, I think you're still fighting for Bob. Here's where I'm at, legitimately. There are UFOs, there are aliens. The government knows about it.
Correct.
And that's where
Government
we're
you
at.
guys hate.
Yeah, the government who's duplicitous.
Government,
and who's
more than one government.
constantly lying to us. Yeah, they've been lying about this too. And they're keeping this from us for
So my question to you
totally
is, hold on.
nefarious
My question to you
reasons.
guys is, every single government in the world has gotten together and is lying to us? Because that's what you're implying, right?
About something.
I think all governments lie to their people. That is without
Sure,
a doubt.
sure.
It's called national security.
But what I'm asking you is there isn't one world leader that's like Simon. Not one world leader out there is like Simon and is like, I want to fucking, no?
Well, there are many world leaders. The world leader of Japan has come out definitively and said he's seen a UFO.
Yeah, my point though is like if he had information, definitive government cover-up information, seeing as he's seen one, do you not think he would let some of that out?
National security.
I wonder how much, like our president, has zero control.
Our prime minister.
Oh, no, I meant
Their
president.
Their president.
And probably zero ability to do anything about it, right? It's the deep state that takes care of the aliens. The
That's
people
convenient.
who never change office, you know? They're always there. And that's why it's like a need to know. And the president doesn't need to know. And he won't need to know until he needs to know.
This is why conspiracy theories are such a sweet little figure eight of fuckery.
No, but I think we've narrowed it down that there are UFOs. It's no longer a conspiracy.
No, that's a fact. The government has even agreed to that.
Yeah.
We have to all be on the same
we're
page.
past that.
So who's driving the UFOs? Okay, that should be our next question.
That's a conspiracy, yeah.
Well, I love that you think. Hold on.
We don't know the answer. So you could say it's the gas. You could say it's frogs, whatever.
I love that you, like, we have drones. We're not that advanced. Why would it have to be manned?
Okay, something is controlling the UFOs.
Fine, I'll meet you
who's
there, but-
controlling them?
Well, I'm just saying, like, think about us. Like, if we had the technology to fly a ship,
Sure.
we most likely wouldn't. If we could, we would just send it out unmanned,
No
right?
problem.
The first one.
Don't get stuck on that because it all comes down to it's either who's flying it or who's controlling it.
Fine.
It's not us.
Fine.
We're pretty sure it's not another human. So what's going on? Back to your earlier point, Kamara, I think it probably is a lot like Star Trek. I think Roddenberry was part of those meetings. Well, we know he was. Those Majestic 8 meetings. And I think he probably got, he exaggerated a lot, I'm sure, but the basic principle that there are more than one race of alien out there, they are part of some federation and Earth is a part of that federation.
And all of them wear clothes.
That's why they had to get
And
to
all
the
of them
moon
wear
in such
clothes.
a hurry.
Simon, how about this?
They don't all have to wear clothes.
Simon, how about this? Since you enjoy the idea of people on Earth like long before the dinosaurs, so what if there were people?
Dinosaurs.
Yeah, I've heard you say that before. That there could have been. How do we not know that there weren't people back then?
I mean, yeah, I guess that's possible. Or living at the same time as the dinosaurs.
No, because there's fossils of the dinosaurs. It would have to be long before them that were wiped out. Right? You've said this many times. We've had this argument where you're like, a fucking civilization could have been here, wiped out 1 million years ago that was super advanced, and we'd
How
have
long
no.
ago were the dinosaurs? Weren't they like 1 billion years ago?
I'm a journalist. I don't
300
count.
million years
Fine,
ago? I don't
Simon.
even know.
260 billion years ago.
I'm not sure there was a civilization on Earth that long
Just
ago.
hear me out, okay? Let's say there was, and they were super fucking advanced, and they sent a ship that could ping pong and move the way this thing fucking does. They sent the ship out into the galaxy to do all sorts of who the fuck knows because they're more advanced than my dumbass. And those people got lost. Or they landed somewhere and started a new, what's the word I'm looking for?
Civilization.
Yeah, but that's not the word I'm looking for. But sure, civilization. We'll go with that one. And they succeed. And they say, okay, we should go back and tell, Earth what we've done. And now they come back and they're like, I don't think this is Earth. Because it's been so long, they don't realize that they've been wiped out. And now they're kind of looking at us like, what the fuck is going on here? These guys are killing each other. I don't know what a black life is, but they seem to matter a lot. You know what I mean? Like maybe they're just looking down and saying, this is not what we left. These are not us.
Okay.
I'm
It's
just,
possible. It's possible.
I hate that you try to have fun with this guy and throw out his wild conspiracy.
Sorry,
He just sits there looking at you all crooked
So
like,
frustrating.
yeah.
I didn't realize you were like, I didn't know
He's
where
entertaining you.
I didn't know
Yes.
what you were driving at.
No,
I
this
was waiting.
whole thing, I feel like Simon's sitting here being super defensive. having to have some eureka moment. We go, oh shit, there
I'm
are
not
aliens.
defensive at all. I assume that you all believe in aliens at this point, and anything else is crazy.
And then I feel like you're just shoving it down my throat now. Like
Yeah,
I am
I feel
coming with you all the way,
we
holding
are just
my hands.
we are just having a conversation.
I feel like a goose getting
if it's
fed.
not that, I apologize.
You are hoping someone's listening that knows something that is going to bridge a gap.
Simon, let me ask you the important question.
You're
'cause
pleading.
Obviously, this podcast had you written all over it. Like, if Chappelle comes on, that one's for me. If Trump comes on, that one's all Kamar.
Oh, heavenly day.
And these guys are for you. So let me ask you this question. Like, you know, I know you're going to rate this high just because it's 2 hours or 3 hours of fucking jerk off alien talk, which you love. But like, did you get out of this what you wanted actually? Like, you didn't really learn anything new from this.
Did you yell
No.
at the podcast at any time?
No, I did not yell at the podcast at any time. What I got out of this is that we get to legitimately talk about this.
Yeah, that's fine.
Without you accusing me of things. That's what matters.
Hold on.
And you're so used to pushback.
Accusation.
You don't even know how to talk
Just
about
stop
it
for a
anymore.
second. We're going to back the fuck up here.
Apparently.
No. Don't fucking glance over this asshole. Accusation is very fucking harsh. You do that stuff.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But now I'm not denying that
Okay,
I do
fine,
that.
fair enough.
What I'm saying is now there's no possibility of you calling me out on it.
Fair, and you're right. Keep in mind. Keep in mind. 3-4 episodes in, I said we're all hosts. You two said nope. You're the host. So what's a host job? Keep this motherfucker on the tracks. That's my only job as the host.
I have always believed in aliens. There's never been a point. I just, over the course of this podcast, have marveled how you would weave aliens into something where I thought there were no aliens to be woven. And then when we have a podcast where it's like, it's your wheelhouse, let's go for it. You're so used to being defensive to try to get your alien stuff in.
Can I also say
I think
this?
it's adorable.
Can I also say this? I think the important thing, Simon, is like, I too have always been on board with the fact that there's probably something out there, right? What I'm not on board with is the idea that our inept government knows anything more than we do. What I genuinely think is that our government is genuinely afraid to come out and go, we actually don't, which is why that's the most surprising thing to me, is that the government would actually come out and go, we have no idea what this is. That's a rarity.
Well, I think we're on the cusp of that.
What do you mean?
We know some stuff, but we actually know nothing.
And I think the only reason they're willing to do that is because they know so much more than they're telling you, you know?
That's
And
juicy.
they would
That's
never
juicy.
come out and say, we don't know anything. We're afraid because there are things flying up there that we have no idea what they are. That was always the weirdest part to me. But I mean, I think they're already at the table with these things, and this is where they're letting you us in on, you know?
But hold on, I again am with Joe in that the only reason they would be a table where we would be potentially at it with them is if they had already infiltrated us, as in they were already running the government. Why else would they, like Joe said, why would they choose, let's go to their government? It seems very odd.
I think it's probably, and again, this is probably crazy. It's probably maybe a situation where you have like different factions who maybe are not supposed to be doing things and are down here breaking the rules just like a businessman would, you know?
I hate you.
Now we got space mobsters.
Yeah.
Listen,
Hey, I'm down here helping these fucking humans.
we think everything's crazy. I don't mean you.
I mean, you're right.
Us
Yes.
as humans, we think everything's crazy until it's not, and then it's just normal. Okay? So the one thing I've learned is just don't scoff at anything because it always ends up coming around.
Well, no, you
It's
can
like the
scoff at a
Alex
lot
Jones
of. Hold
syndrome.
on, you can scoff at a lot of stuff because you're going to die before most of that stuff comes to fruition. So scoff away. That's part of human nature.
The thing is, if, say, George Knapp is right, your great unveiling moment isn't happening because it's already happened, right?
And by your logic, Simon, if I said aliens absolutely do not exist, you couldn't scoff at that either.
You couldn't say UFOs don't exist.
We'd have to talk about those videos.
You could say aliens. You couldn't say UFOs.
Yeah, that's
don't
fine. But
exist.
what I'm saying, aliens.
Okay.
But you know what I mean?
Something is either controlling or flying those UAFs or whatever the fuck they are, UAPs.
It could be that Russia has some technology that can fuck with the
Totally.
gimbal.
And did they get that from reverse engineering a UFO that they found? I'm sorry, Kumar.
No, I'm just saying
We
new
keep
technology
coming
comes
back
along
to
all the time.
Yeah, no,
and
that's,
to assume that the U.S. is always on the cutting edge, I think is a mistake.
I think they know that that's not the case.
Either way.
Either way.
Do you remember George was talking about the other dimension where time goes backwards?
Well, he dropped that at the end, which I was kind of like,
Yeah.
I was like, this fucking guy, like, I don't even know what to do with this.
But that, we could have got rid of everything Jeremy said to just talk about that a bit more.
Thank
That
you.
was just in the news, right? Like that was, 2 weeks ago? That
It was just a super,
showed up in my feed.
I didn't see
super
anything.
And I don't mean my feed as like Simon. I mean in like the normal feed on your phone. It was a story.
and none of this stuff moves the needle.
Every day, every
Simon,
week,
talk into the mic.
there is a new something from NASA, something from a comet, space, aliens.
And you're excited, your thing is building, and something's about to happen.
But here's the weird thing is
I hope you're right.
hold on, here's the weird thing. You're a conspiracy-minded person.
No.
Yes. Okay. So you have to also then believe that NASA is fake and just a big way to siphon money from the public. So
He's been
wouldn't-
saying that for weeks.
So
Correct.
wouldn't you also have to believe that the only reason there would be all these stories about NASA is to return the public's faith in the fact that they actually do something so that they continue to fund NASA in such large quantities? Correct?
Okay. What? So yeah.
Well, my point is like, so them releasing that video, it could easily be a manufactured video, and Fravor could easily be an agent provocateur that's just there for the simple way for the American government to siphon X amount of money out of the people via NASA. Now, again, this isn't me. I'm just saying what a conspiracy
Sure,
minded
they
person
can
might.
absolutely do that. I don't think they have a problem coming up with money for NASA. Donald Trump made the Space Force and they dumped like
But hear me out.
trillions of dollars into it.
But hear me out. What I'm saying, though, is in NASA, it seems, had lost a lot of credibility with the public in the last decade. You would probably agree with that. No?
Well, they just
Has
weren't allowed to
NASA
do anything. They
lost
didn't have
money?
money to send anybody. They still send
They
people to
just
space.
pour money out. Yeah, it's gas.
Well, sure. But again, so they had less money. Now it seems like there's a lot more money being pumped into NASA. And
But that's because
Well, right now they're working with Elon. There's a lot tied into that. I don't.
sure, okay. But again, you could argue it's
no,
all,
no.
I'm
The
just
argument
saying
you
a
make is
conspiracy-minded person.
not a bad one.
That's it. That's
It's
all.
not a bad one, but listen, you still have to tell me who's flying these fucking things. It's not just the military that's seeing them. You know what I mean? Colonel Fravor isn't the only person who has witnessed these things. He just happens to be a military guy who's come forward. There are plenty of people who have seen these things.
Yeah, but you also know
that's
that we see a lot of things that we can't explain all the time.
Right, but we also have the stories of people seeing the same things. Like, listen, you want to discount it, discount it. Like,
No, I'm just trying to play Diablo Avocado, which we do all the time here.
take
be a great
the Phoenix Lights. You
That'd
know what
be a
I mean?
great
Like
shirt.
a lot of different people saw them. They have it on video, and yet we still discount it. Like, what do you want? What are we gonna do here? I don't want to be defensive. You know?
You can't help
You
it.
are.
'cause
Yeah, this guy's fucking. Yeah, he's got a shotgun out.
Well, come on. He's playing Diablo Avocado.
Well, no.
I have to.
but I have no
He's
choice
the
but to be
host.
defensive.
Well,
But
This
what
guy's
about
like
this?
a fucking lawyer in court. Your Honor.
What about this? Jeremy goes to Joe, looks him in the eye, goes, Joe.
Can I suck your dick?
Well, his theory is that every single person at least knows someone who has seen a UFO or knows someone who knows someone who's seen a
That's
UFO.
weird.
And it's not the sighting of the UFO, it's the personal story. But that's the Corbell bullshit. Have you ever seen anything or know someone that you trust or have faith in that says they saw something?
The only thing I've ever seen is that disappearing of the light. I don't think it was anything. And I've never heard of anybody who's seen anything.
Same question you, Matt.
No, of course not.
Me neither.
So like the
Well,
coronavirus. So like the coronavirus,
It's not
real.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm more saying-
Anecdotal evidence be damned.
Out the window.
I'm just saying Jeremy's here that every single person has seen one or knows someone who's seen one.
I think he
is-
just got caught
his
up in
own
the
little
moment.
world
I think
he's
he just
living.
got
Well,
caught
I
up.
think he also made a mistake of going on the Joe Rogan Experience and being like, yeah, I mean, aliens. And my email happens to be jeremycorbin@gmail.com. And now he's just opened the floodgates. Like
Corbell. And
I don't give a fuck what this Yahoo's name is.
I think that, he probably gets a lot of weirdos sending him shit right now. So he probably thinks that 99% of the people in the world are fucking alien enthusiasts.
And to his credit, he kept saying, like, look, Joe, most people are full of shit, but I've got to weed through it. But thank God I got a guy like George Knapp who's weeded through half the shit that could tell me don't even bother going down there.
But doesn't that sound
That's
like
what he said.
doesn't that sound like what a snake oil salesman would say to you? Like, listen, a lot of people are out here selling snake oil. I promise you, I understand. This is not snake oil. This is snack oil. It's totally different.
Of course, because we're talking about aliens with the most limited of proof or evidence there is.
I know, and I just listen. Here's my the one thing I'll say in closing. Hopefully, was even a little bit of pushback from Joe on the Sky Skinwalker Ranch
Was welcomed.
Well, yes and no. I mean, the guy seemed kind of frustrated that Joe wasn't just totally on board with what he was saying. And that's where I was like, listen, what you're saying is loopy as fuck. How do you expect, like, Joe's gone on board with 90% of what you're saying? I don't know. I don't know what to think of this guy.
Well, I'll say from this episode, I thought we were going to come in and go, Bob Lazar is more credible than he's not credible. And we're going to talk about the different possibilities of what the aliens are. But we're still caught up with the credibility of it. I mean, the last one was much worse.
Well, he thinks that, Knapp thinks that the next thing that will happen is that the government will release that they've been reverse engineering these things that they've been seeing. Like, and it's all just a progression. He doesn't think that they'll ever, like, be a disclosure moment, but we're working our way towards it, man.
And he said if he could be told and shown with his bare eyes, evidence, there's the aliens, there's everything you know, he would keep his mouth shut. And I thought that was an interesting statement. For in the realm
Just
of
a
covering.
selfish.
There's people, selfish, and then other people out there, okay, fine, I'll never say anything. It's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible. He just said it.
I mean, he could have
It's
lied.
a hypothetical. Of
He
course.
could have lied.
Well, the best was what Joe said is like, like I'm going to say no.
You know.
Is that it, Simon? Are we done?
Oh
my God, you have 10 more pages there, don't you?
You asked me last week if I watched that.
He just Peter Schiffed me and didn't answer.
If I watched that
Simon.
Unsolved-
No, Simon, please, Simon.
Unsolved Mysteries.
No, I did not.
The new
Oh,
one?
you didn't?
I didn't ask you that.
Somebody asked me that. Did you watch the new Unsolved Mysteries on Netflix?
No.
Oh, you didn't.
And
Oh my
Jeremy
gosh.
raving about it was like, no, still
Does it have, what's his name?
No.
I do want to watch
Is
Dark.
he dead?
I don't know, but this is Netflix.
I get it, but
so
how could they
it's a
not bring the
reboot.
trench
I
coat
don't
dude
know.
back?
Maybe they didn't want to pay the money, so I don't know. Maybe he's dead. I don't know.
That's why I asked if he was dead, yeah.
But that case, whatever, watch it. That case is one where all these different people get abducted on the same night.
Bill Cosby.
Or claim that they got abducted on the same night. They don't know each other at all. And they see each other on the ship. It's just fucked up, man.
No chance I want to watch
It's
that.
a very interesting case.
But I would watch Dark.
Let's see.
We got to wrap it up, Si.
Yeah,
you
okay,
got
no
one. You got
problem.
one more, buddy. And I'm not being a dick. We've really.
John Mack. Do you know who he was?
He's the guy that lied to Annie Jacobson?
No, he would go to. We'll talk about Mac, and then we'll be done.
I wasn't giving
He
you eyes or
would
anything.
go and like interview people after they had been abducted by the aliens, and one of the famous. He would usually deal with kids a lot of the time. And,
The most credible of all witnesses.
absolutely the hardest to justify.
They say
But
the
that
damnedest
one
things.
case he was talking about, that South Africa case, that's another really interesting one where all these kids claim to see the exact same thing. It happens in broad daylight.
That's not the most interesting thing, and that's where I feel like it would happen in Africa.
He
some
goes
reason.
and interviews all of them.
Couple of fucking
John
prawns.
Mack. He ends up getting hit by a car and dying later on back in the States, just coincidentally. That's usually how they get rid of the fucking guys who are causing them trouble.
Except Bob Lazar.
Except Bob Lazar, yeah. And then that's...
It's really the fact that he's alive is... he'd be more of a martyr if he died in some mysterious way right after Joe Rogan.
If he got hit by a car.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then just last thing is the Annie Jacobsen thing. Is because he says that her source of her whole fucking thing about the double cross Cold War is the same, is also his source that he had first, who changed his story after being threatened.
And we all suspect that she slept with all her sources.
And this guy.
I think that was you that you
and
went there.
George Knapp.
She slept with George Knapp.
Can I throw that
As a
into
lover
the
quarrel?
mix?
She's the one with the sultry voice.
Yes, Joe.
Yes, Joe.
And you have to buy the book if you want to know how it ends. Joe.
Yes, that was her. Yes, you have to buy the book. Well, Joe, I can't talk about it. We have to buy the book.
Yeah. My only problem with this, I'm going to score it high, is that it's so long after Bob Lazar. And maybe George had his reasons. They wanted to wait for this classified stuff in the New York Times, whatever. Other than that, it was great. Inspiring. Not inspiring, but exciting. Exciting alien talk instead of like conspiracy alien.
You know, the valet, last thing. Jacques Vallée is like a famous...
No, I just did my closing statement.
Yeah, this fucking guy.
My
Just one
soliloquy.
thing real quick. Go
Jacques
ahead.
Vallée is a
Yeah.
really famous guy in the world of ufology.
Sorry, what is that?
What is ufology?
UFOlogy?
Well, it's the study of UFOs and aliens, whatever. Anyways,
Get on board, come on.
I didn't make it up.
Ufology.
That's what it is, man.
Use it in a sentence? No, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry.
Simon considers himself to be a ufologist.
No, I definitely don't.
Simon has a card that says ufologist.
I consider Simon to be a ufologist.
I am a Bigfoot hunter.
Simon has a tramp stamp tattoo that says ufologist.
Yetiologist?
What was I talking about? Jacques Vallée.
Ufologism. Ufologism.
Oh, that's who I would like to see on Joe Rogan.
Okay.
That would be the type of guy who could introduce you to something new, something you hadn't thought about before. He has some pretty out there ideas.
I don't think so. I think I'm like getting old enough that I don't care anymore. I'm just trying to be happy and survive.
No, I just think portals, time travel, things that would interest you. But he was talking about how we just really have no idea how the universe works. Like, we're so naive to think that
But how could we? We're fucking monkeys.
we are.
But that was the best part of this podcast. Joe asked George what he thinks. He goes, I don't know. Asked Jeremy. Jeremy starts rambling on. You know what I mean? The best he could say in this is, I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's the most honest. And George,
Well, that's also because he hasn't seen shit.
and we don't know either.
Yeah. All right, that's it, Simon. I wrap that up. Can you rate it, please? Actually, you know what? We'll do you last because this is your baby.
I like that.
Come on, we'll start with you. You're going 4.5, aren't you?
I'm going 4.5 because it would have been lower if Jeremy was a dick, but he came and
Jeremy was
bearable.
very, very acceptable this episode. We've established that. I'm going to give it a 4. Good episode. Still not 5-ish. Not higher than a 4 territory for me. Yeah.
I'm going to give it a 4.2. And upon review,
So weird. You gave the week a 4.5.
I fucked up.
Nothing went over 4.5.
I fucked up on the
right
week.
up like that,
I
yeah.
totally
Yeah.
fucked up on the week.
So
I wish
you're-
we had one of those take backs.
No, you can do it in an
I
addendum.
do, because
Yeah,
I think it's like a 4 for me.
Okay,
this
4 of the
yeah.
week. Okay.
And
Because it was
this-
just a really strong ending for you.
Well, this one, I felt like they had an opportunity to like talk to Joe about Skinwalker, the one thing he knew nothing about. And they let
wasn't having
him
it.
like, he bullied them into,
he wasn't having
It's
it.
his show.
I know. He did what he
They don't have any proof.
They didn't
And
have
Jeremy
proof.
never comes prepared.
Well, apparently not.
He's always just like, it's in my movie.
Yeah.
Oh, you haven't seen? Oh, you haven't seen that one?
Yep.
What I was thinking I want any of these guys to do is give me a solid prediction. In 2 weeks, the sun's going to be blue. How do you know that? I can't tell you. I know. Just watch, and then it comes through.
Sorry, real quick. In closing, in Joe's defense, also that video they showed, you didn't watch it, did you?
No.
When they show it, there's nothing there,
Oh,
and that's why Joe's like, guys, what you
Jeremy's
just
excited. Exactly. There's nothing there.
no,
exactly.
but what Joe, again, I,
get-
was getting frustrated.
Okay, I
there.
understand what Jeremy
did
is
yell at
saying.
them.
Jeremy is saying, listen, this was a much longer video in which you see this thing happen. The video is now gone.
But
It's
the
his fault.
event existed.
I get it.
We see that through this video. That's what's important. Joe couldn't get over the fact that nothing happened in the video.
What Joe was saying to him was also, why would you put this in your movie? Because I agree with him. There's nothing in it. Like, even when
It was just, again, to exactly
I get it.
highlight what I
get
just
it.
told
Yeah.
you.
Well, I didn't I figured it out on my own. Joe couldn't get it. That's fine. What time is it, Kumar?
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do it like that. It's almost 10:30.
Jesus Christ.
And in closing,
That's it. That's it.
I don't know anything.
Oh, we know nothing.
It's the wisest thing you said all night.
Yeah, we know nothing. Thank you.
We know fuck all.
Yeah. No, that's it. Thank you for listening or watching. If you want to email the show, don't.
Yeah, don't.
No, if you want to, I guess you can. There's a million other ways to get in touch with us.
You gotta start doing this
don't
like Saturday
rate
Live,
us.
you know what I mean?
Don't review
You start
us.
talking and the band will be the background. And me and Simon
Don't tell your friends about the podcast.
Me and Simon start shaking hands behind and hugging. It's been a great week. I just want to thank everyone who's been here.
It's like SNL.
Exactly.
If you do want to email the show, it's jreepodcast@gmail.com. We are on Twitter and Instagram, JREE Podcast. You can follow Kamar on Instagram
At Kamara Bar.
for the weather. You can also follow him on Twitter.
For-
At Kamar Babar.
For a horrible Twitter. I'm so ashamed of my Twitter. I'm just like, Twitter's such a dumpster fire. It's like, what am I even doing here?
Yeah, good for you. Get off that shit. You can follow Simon on Instagram.
You can. Bigfoot Sighting Society, but don't. Because
We're making this real easy
there's
for you.
nothing there for you.
There is a Reddit if you want to join the conversation. It's reddit.com/JREE podcast. And then, of course, the Patreon. It's patreon.com/JREE podcast if you want to support the show.
No, you forgot the YouTube. And you got to get 10 people to subscribe this week. Everyone get 10 people to get 10 people to subscribe, and we're all going to be gravy.
And if you don't, you die.
No, if you don't, you
Oh,
just
it's
don't.
not one of those chain things.
No, it's not one of those chain things, yeah.
And Kamar cut me off there. You can join the Patreon for as little as $1 a month. But we will tell you right off the bat, August will be the last month for the $1 Patreon level. That's it.
Peter Schiff, the economy, they pump too much money into it. Things got to change.
Yeah.
Swag.
Oh, yeah. And if you want, we do have merch if you feel like it.
With some new hot drops coming up soon.
So what you got to do is go to Instagram, follow the link to TeePublic, and then you'll get right to our page.
That sounds so fucking
I know, it's crazy,
convoluted.
right?
It's
stupid.
unreal.
It's stupid.
If you do join the Patreon, it's not for nothing. You get 3 or 4 episodes of This Won't Age Well, a series where we go back, we listen to old episodes, and we do what we do here on the show. You also get the post show early. You get it a couple days early. You get it on Tuesday as opposed to Friday. So you're not getting nothing. That's it. It's hot in here. Don't worry about us complaining. You're going to hear exactly how loud it is with the AC on. Thank you for
We'll
listening.
do the whole post show with it, sorry.
Oh, we could. Yeah, that'd be terrible. I'll turn the noise gate off and just fuck their ears with this goddamn thing. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you guys are staying safe out there, especially if you're in the States. I don't know. Have a great weekend.
Keep your eyes open, folks.
Keep your eyes open.